Chapter 1377. Previously in Saint Nazaire, she had impregnated Maya, but Gu Mingming had immediately noticed that there was something wrong with Maya's body scent. Moreover, Saint Nazaire only had Leah as a snow fox. Once Maya gave birth, Gu Mingming would immediately notice that something was wrong. But Sauter was different. There were only snow foxes here, and the purity of the fox's seductive fragrance was so high when they were in heat. Gu Mingming could not smell anything from the females, and it would be normal for them to give birth to snow foxes in the future. Gu Mingming could not tell which child was Cole's. Damn it, what was Cole trying to do? Gu Mingming's brain worked furiously, but her face remained expressionless. She just smiled faintly. Don't panic, don't be afraid. Although I am the messenger of the beast deity, I do not have the right to stop you from following your beast king. Following the beast king is the innate nature of the beasts. I will not do something so inhumane and force you to not get close to Cole. It's just that. I can't be fickle. Eating from the boss's grain and sleeping in the West's bed. Listening to Cole's arrangements, you want to make use of my man to help you gain face. You guys have taken all the advantages in this world. You can't be so greedy, you will be punished by the heavens. Gu is right. A familiar voice came from the crowd. Gu Mingming looked over and saw Cole returning with Qixuan, Kanwu and Jiaoyu. The four of them were in a strange state. They did not seem to be at each other's throats. Instead, they looked like an elder who had just returned from an outing with his 3 children. Gu Mingming instinctively sat up straight, her gaze fixed on her 3 sons. Only after confirming that they were not injured or crippled did the suffocating feeling in her chest dissipate. Greetings to the mighty beast king. The elders of the Snow Fox clan were already kneeling on the ground. Now, even the females were kneeling down, paying their respects to Cole. Cole ignored them. He just stood in front of the deity altar and made a gesture of invitation. Young master, please return to your mother's side. Don't let her worry. Qixuan and his brothers also ignored Cole. They just leaped onto the deity altar and walked to Gu Mingming's side. They held her hands. Mother, we are back. Gu Mingming had a stomach full of questions but did not say a single word. She just nodded and smiled. Cole turned around and directly knelt in front of everyone. He bowed to Gu Mingming and said, Your subordinate Cole leads the Snow Fox clan to pay his respects to the great messenger. Gu Mingming glanced sideways, wondering what Cole was up to again. Qixuan patted Gu Mingming's arm, gesturing with his eyes for her to accept Cole's worship. Gu Mingming did not understand and turned to look at Leah. Leah gave Gu Mingming a smiling look, indicating for her to trust Qixuan. Hence Gu Mingming unwillingly replied, Yeah. Qixuan then shook Gu Mingming's arm in a coquettish manner, as if he was begging Gu Mingming to put up a good front. Gu Mingming sighed and pulled the corners of her lips into a smile. Great Fox King, please get up. Chapter 1378. We will obey Lord Beast King's orders. The Snow Fox clan is loyal to Lord Messenger. Heaven and earth can testify. The continuous shouts of oaths were quite inspiring, as if everyone knew something. Only Gu Mingming, who was being pledged loyalty to, was dumbfounded, not knowing what was happening. Lord Fox King, since the elders of the Snow Fox clan are so concerned about this first hunt, why don't you join in the fun and see if you can boost their morale and defeat our wolf clan? Qixuan stood beside Gu Mingming, smiling like an innocent child. But his words made the few old foxes from the Snow Fox clan turn green. No, the old foxes objected one after another. What kind of joke was this? Elvis and the rest had already walked for half a day, and the distance between them had already widened. The 2 beast kings were equally powerful, but the Snow Fox clan was not as powerful as the Wolf clan, so it was impossible for them to overtake the Wolf clan. If they let Cole go now and the Wolf clan won, wouldn't that mean that the Snow Fox clan was not a match for the Wolf clan? Even with the Beast King, they still lost. In the future, they would definitely be suppressed by the wolves. They had to design a situation where they could win for sure before sending the Beast King up. They definitely could not let Cole lose to Elvis in his first battle. Qixuan blinked his eyes and tilted his head in confusion. Didn't you just say to let my daddy Leah raise the morale? How could a mere 9th Highness be as inspiring as a Beast King? I'm doing this for your own good. Why don't you agree? This. The elders were speechless. He couldn't possibly say that pushing Leah out to raise the morale of the people was just a pretense, and that the real motive was to push all the blame to him when they lost, right? It would be best if he could intensify the family conflict between Leah and Elvis, causing Leah to be dissatisfied with Elvis. This way, he would be more reliant on the power of the Snow Fox clan, and recognize his own identity. He would not put his family first in everything, but place the emphasis on his race first. Because only when his race was strong could he have a dominant position in his family. Moreover, he had to make Leah unhappy with Elvis first, so that he could incite him to plot something in the future to get rid of Elvis and replace him. The first partner of the messenger of the beast deity should have been from the Snow Fox clan. This was his true motive, but he couldn't say it out loud. The elders looked at each other, speechless. Qixian looked at Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming placed one hand on the back of the chair, and rested her chin on her palm. She looked at Qixian and said, "Since the Fox King is here, wouldn't it be a waste if we don't show off our skills? Although the werewolves have set off for a while now, they definitely have the advantage in terms of the overall number of prey. It would be unfair to let you join now." That's right, the elder said. Gu Mingming glanced at him from the corner of her eyes, and he immediately kept quiet, not daring to say another word. Gu Mingming then continued, "For the sake of fairness, let's not compete for the most this year, but the biggest? In the end, the person who provides the sacrifice to the beast deity will be the winner. Isn't this fair?" Cole placed his right hand on his left chest and bowed towards Gu Mingming like a European knight swearing his loyalty. Then he smiled and said, "I don't care if it's fair or not. As long as it's something that Master wants me to do, I will do it. Lord, your beast Yin Yang is the hunt. This as is your hunting beastly, is Wu, Uii beast." Chapter 1379. Your subordinate will obey. Cole bowed and turned to leave, heading towards the direction where the males had set off for the hunt. The elders were so anxious that they looked at Leah and asked, "Your Ninth Highness this?" Leah waved his tail and said, "Since the mighty Fox King is here, how can I, a mere Ninth Highness, be in charge of the tribe's matters? All the elders can just follow the Fox King." The elders paced around and finally whispered to each other before following Cole's footsteps towards the direction of the hunt. Gu Mingming yawned and said, "There will not be any results until night time. Females, go back to your own homes, and the results will naturally be revealed during the night campfire party." Yes. None of the females dared to act rashly in front of Gu Mingming, and naturally followed whatever she said. Leah carried Gu Mingming back to the stone castle, and the three little ones exchanged glances before following behind him obediently. The moment they entered the house, Gu Mingming immediately turned around and placed her hands on her hips, activating the mode of facing your mother when you fail to advance in the examinations. Seeing this, Jiaoyu gave Kanwu a push and he immediately knelt down without a word. Pinching his ears with both hands, he said, "Mother, I know I was wrong." Before Gu Mingming could question him, Kanwa's kneeling made Gu Mingming speechless. Gu Mingming poked Kanwa's head and said, "A man's knees are worth gold. Who allowed you to kneel? Get up." Kanwu raised his head and said innocently, "The last time I saw Bode teach a father beast, he said that if a female gets angry, she will not be angry if he kneels down and admits his mistake." Gu Mingming facepalmed. This was the lousy trick Bode taught Elvis when she chased Leah and Elvis out of the cave, and forbade them from returning home. The four little ones were indeed present at that time, but it had been more than 2 years. These four were still buns then. TSK, why did he keep remembering these useless things instead of important matters? "Mother, it's like this. This time, Qixian was the mastermind and I was an accomplice. Kanwa did not know the details and only followed because he did not want Qixian and I to take the risk alone. Since his fault was the lightest, we decided to push him out to take the beating. Mother, just hit him as you see fit. Once he calms down, Qixian and I will explain to you. Come, please do it." Gu Mingming looked at Jiaoyu and laughed in exasperation at this child. Kanwa did the least wrong, so why is he the one getting beaten up? Because I can take a beating. Kanwu explained to himself with an inexplicable sense of pride on his face. Jiaoyu smiled apologetically and wrapped his arms around Gu Mingming's arm, acting coquettishly. It's precisely because he made the smallest mistake that mother didn't hit him too hard. Moreover, Qi and I are afraid of pain. So Kanwu isn't afraid of pain. Actually, as long as the three of them were safe, the anger in Gu Mingming's heart would dissipate by half. He had never thought of hitting his children. What's more, his three sons were already independent people. Other people's children would have left their parents and wandered the world when they were their age. He could do whatever he wanted, and his parents could no longer control him. Their child had done something dangerous outside, and when she came back, she had to appease her emotions. This was already very sensible. Chapter 1380. Gu Mingming tugged at Kanwu and said, "Stand up properly." Kanwu smiled sheepishly and stood up straight. He smiled apologetically and asked, "Mum, if you don't hit me, does that mean you won't be angry? You won't cry, right?" Gu Mingming suddenly recalled Leah saying that she had an ultimate weapon, and all the males in the family were scared to death. She didn't understand it then, but now it dawned on her. Her ultimate weapon was her tears? Right, there was really such a thing. As a mother, she used her tears to force her son into a cowardly dog. "Why are you crying? Do I look like someone who likes to cry so much?" Gu Mingming pinched Kanwu's ears and said, "You rascal, better listen carefully. You are all wolves, do you understand? You should have pride and integrity. If I see you kneeling down again, I will break your legs." Kanwu nodded seriously before asking again, "Left leg or right leg?" "Both legs." Gu Mingming was furious. Who did this brat take after? At times like this, shouldn't she just reply, "I got it. Yes, 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 yes"? Would that do? She still dared to ask if it was left leg or right leg. This was simply asking for a beating. Leah hugged Gu Mingming's waist and said, "You said it so harshly, but I wonder who it was." On the Mota Mountains, the moment she heard that the children were in Cole's hands, she was so scared that she cried and threw a tantrum. She even jumped off the cliff and threatened to kill herself, forcing Gregory to bring her back to Sauter to save her sons. TSK. If not for Gregory's quick reflexes, I'm afraid he wouldn't have the chance to break their legs in the future. Li's casual words made the three Qi brothers tremble with fear. Kanwu was a man of action. He directly snatched the person from Li's arms and turned her left and right to take a closer look. He was so anxious that his brows were tightly knitted together. "Mum, are you injured? Does it hurt anywhere?" Aya, you call me a tiger and rash every day. Now I finally know who I took after." Gu Mingming was dizzy from being turned around by Kanwu. She raised her hand and knocked his head. "What are you saying? I am your mother." "I know, how can I not know you?" Kanwu sighed helplessly. Then he was suddenly shocked. He held Gu Mingming's head and looked at it carefully. Oh no, I don't know if she hurt her brain. Little bastard. You're the one who broke your head." Gu Mingming felt like crying but no tears would come out. She slapped Kanwu's hand away and said, "Your father protected me well and Gregory caught us with one hand. I did not fall at all." Kanwu then heaved a sigh of relief. He looked at Gu Mingming worriedly and asked, "Really?" Gu Mingming exclaimed, "Oh really?" Kanwu hesitated for a moment, then stretched out 3 fingers and asked, "How many are these?" Gu Mingming held her forehead and said lifelessly, 3. Kanwu was finally relieved. He hugged Gu Mingming and said, "Thank the heavens you really didn't break anything. My mother, my dear mother, you can't do such a reckless thing in the future. How old are you? How could they not consider the consequences of their actions? Tell me, how can we work hard in the future with peace of mind? We were so worried. We didn't even see and Mum was gone." Chapter 1381. "Oh, mummy, I know I was wrong, really. Kanwu pretended to be in pain as he begged for mercy. His exaggerated manner made Gu Mingming forget why she was angry in the first place. Jiaoyu and Qi exchanged glances and finally felt at ease. They heaved a sigh of relief. "Mummy, sorry for making you worry about us." Gu Mingming sighed and hugged Jiaoyu and Qi before saying, "All right, tell me, why did you guys get involved with Cole?" "Mummy, do you know about the 7 treasures?" Qi Xian asked calmly. Gu Mingming nodded. I know. Qi Xian sorted out his words before replying. Cole knows too. Gu Mingming did not understand. It was not strange for Cole to know about the 7 treasures. She already knew about it. Qi Xian continued. Not only does he know, he also believes that once the 7 treasures are gathered, they can open the doors of time and space. Gu Mingming bit her lower lip and nodded. This is also true. Qi Xuan's face darkened. He was not surprised, but it seemed like his last bit of hope had been shattered. Qi Xian sighed without a trace. According to my observations and conjectures, Cole's goal is to open the doors of time and space and lead the orcs to transmigrate to that dimension. Gu Mingming looked at Qi Xian in shock. She instinctively covered her mouth. Is he crazy? If the orcs appear in that world, it will definitely cause panic. And the orcs will definitely be the ones to suffer in the end. Qi Xian shook his head. Cole doesn't think so. He studied the previous messenger of the beast deity and you. He realized that although both of you have smart minds, you do not have strong physiques. He thinks that he is smart enough to fight against you. So as long as there are enough orcs, he is confident that he can conquer that world. The orcs are restricted by a hierarchy. So even if they reach that world, no one will dare to defy him. Then he will be the deity that rules that world. Gu Mingming face-bombed. She did not know if she should curse out loud. Leah stood behind Gu Mingming. He gently rubbed her temples. What did you think of? Why do you have such an expression? Gu Mingming sighed and said, I just want to ask, why do you aliens always want to occupy Earth when our Earth is spinning and rolling around on its own? Let me tell you, aliens who are tens of thousands of years ahead of you in terms of intelligence brought destructive weapons to attack Earth. But they were still beaten back by the superheroes of the Avengers. As for you who only have sharp claws and fangs, if you go there, you will either be captured into a research institute to be dissected and used as an experimental specimen, or locked up in a zoo to be exhibited. A god that rules over the world. You must be crazy. Leah, Qi Xian and Jiaoyu exchanged a look before asking softly, is there absolutely no chance of winning? Gu Mingming nodded and said, I guarantee that if Cole appears on Earth with his orc army, they will all be wiped out in less than an hour. Game over. Chapter 1382. Although the orcs all had international faces, their common language was Chinese. This might have something to do with the fact that the previous messenger of the beast deity was a Chinese. So Leah could not understand Gu Mingming's English. But this did not prevent him from understanding Gu Mingming's expressions and actions, so he could more or less understand what she was trying to express. His hands gently slid down and landed on Gu Mingming's shoulders, using just the right amount of strength. As he needed, he said, since it's a dead end, let him be. It's a clean death over there, and saves us the trouble. Gu Mingming shook her head and said, you don't know how advanced the technology in our world is, and how crazy they are. Once they discover Cole's secret, they may use all methods to find a way to reverse the doors of time and space. By then, I'm afraid it won't be Cole occupying the Earth, but the Earth will attack the beast world and develop this place into their second home. By then, Gu Mingming could not continue and just furrowed her brows. It was as if she could see orc corpses strewn all over the place, and the forests and rivers here would be replaced by concrete skyscrapers. The current blue sky and white clouds would eventually be tainted by haze, and males and females 10 meters away, and humans and beasts 100 meters away. I often scold Cole as a pervert, saying that he is mentally twisted, dark and filthy. But I have never told you that humans are even more twisted, uglier and filthier than Cole. And that kind of human heart can be found everywhere in the world we live in. To achieve their goals, they can do things even crazier than Cole. And I definitely do not wish for our current home to become their target one day. Leah did not care what would become of the beast world. He only knew that Gu Mingming was worried and frowning. Gently stroking Gu Mingming's brows, Leah smiled and said, don't worry, I will not let anyone destroy the home you love. So, we just have to stop Cole, right? Gu Mingming sighed and nodded, saying, we cannot let Cole succeed, definitely not. All right, I will definitely not let him succeed. Leah promised. Leah patted Gu Mingming lightly, then looked at Qi Xian. Continue. You discovered Cole's secret, and then? Qi looked at Gu Mengmeng, then continued. Among the 7 treasures, the tear of the beast deity, kiss of the ocean, soul of the forest and heart of the desert have already appeared. The remaining love of the sky and spirit of the rocky cliffs were protected by the beast deity's boundary, so you could only take them. Cole knew that you were going to look for the love of the sky during the dry season, so he planned to lure you to take the spirit of the rocky cliffs next year. When these 2 items appear in the world, all that's left is the Beast King's key. Gu Mengmeng instinctively covered her stomach, putting on a defensive posture. Qi chuckled and shook his head in exasperation. Cole also knows that after what happened to me, you will definitely protect your child better. The chances of him snatching a child from 2 Beast King families is basically 0, so he plans to give birth to a child with the bloodline of a Beast King to be the key of the Beast King. This winter, the Snow Fox clan's collective estrus is the opportunity he chose. Chapter 1383. At the mention of Cole just now, all the females lowered their heads guiltily, which meant that all of them could have had an affair with Cole during the winter. Lexi alone had given birth to 9 little foxes this year. Including the other females, there would be a total of 23 snow fox cubs born this year. Damn it, did she have to kill all 23 cubs just to stop Cole? Then what was the difference between her and Cole? Wasn't they both going crazy for their own goals? Qi tugged at Gu Mengmeng's arm. Mom, don't worry. Let me finish. Gu Mengmeng looked up at Qi, waiting for him to continue. Qi said, Jiaoyu and I spent a month to set up a trap, then used the medicinal bug that Cole had used on Daddy Leo on him. Medicinal bug? You mean the one that causes people to lose their minds? Gu Mengmeng asked in confusion. Qi nodded. Daddy Leo had taught Jiaoyu the method to activate the medicinal bug. And I know how to use the fox seductive fragrance. Gu Mengmeng looked at Qi in shock. The fox seductive fragrance was something from the snow fox tribe. How could a wolf like Qi know how to use it? Moreover, if your 3-year-old son told you that he knew how to use the aphrodisiac, you would also be dumbfounded. Qi looked at Gu Mengmeng's speechless expression and smiled. Mom, don't think too much. I just used the fox seductive fragrance and bewitching spell to make Cole forget. You know bewitching spells too. Gu Mengmeng was even more shocked. Qi lowered his head and chuckled. You and Cole are probably the 2 best at using bewitching spells in this world. Both of you have used it in front of me before. If you still can't learn it, then you are really too stupid. Gu Mengmeng's heart skipped a beat. She pursed her lips and looked at Qi guiltily. You know that I used bewitching spells on you? Qi nodded honestly. I know. Then, Gu Mengmeng's entire body shrank. She didn't dare to look at Qi in the eyes. Qi squatted down and placed his hand on Gu Mengmeng's knee. It was useful at the start. I really forgot about Cole. But to me at that time, Cole had taken up most of my memories. After forgetting about him, my memory was filled with a huge blank space, and I couldn't understand many things no matter how hard I tried. So slowly, the bewitching spell lost its effect. But even so, there was one thing that I remembered very clearly. Mom, when you were crying, my heart felt like it was being squeezed by sharp claws. The pain was so painful that it was engraved in my heart, and I would never forget it. So, I swear, I will never do anything to make you cry again. So don't worry, even though I remember everything, I will not return to Cole's side. Really? Gu Mengmeng's eyes turned red. Qi frowned and said, Don't cry. If you cry, I will immediately go and look for Cole. Gu Mengmeng rubbed her eyes hard and shook her head. I'm not crying, I'm not crying. Qi then smiled and gave Gu Mengmeng a big hug. So Mom, don't worry. I am very clear about what I am doing now. I am not staying by your side because of your bewitching spell. It is because I am your son and you are my mother. I can't bear to see you cry, so I am staying. Chapter 1384. After calming Gu Mengmeng down, Qi continued. To prevent a situation like mine from happening again, we only tampered with a small portion of Cole's memories. We did not delete or change too much of it. Gu Mengmeng asked, What did you change? Qixian smiled and squinted his eyes. Mom, can I not say it? Gu Mingming shook her head resolutely. I know this is very annoying and will make you feel that I am over-monitoring you. But sorry, all mothers in this world are the same. Qixian lowered his head and smiled. It's not that I feel there is a problem with you over-monitoring me. The problem is that I am afraid that if I say it, your partners will kill me. Gu Mingming facepalmed. Ah, you really did something to cause trouble. It's alright, just say it. If your beast father and Leah want to kill you, I will cry. Leah sighed in exasperation. That's why I am not willing to tell you what your ultimate weapon is. Gu Mingming looked up at Leah helplessly. But I can't just watch you and Elvis kill my son, right? Leah poked Gu Mingming's little head. Biased. Gu Mingming did not deny it. She just squinted her eyes and smiled. Qixian cleared his throat. Since that's the case, I will tell you the truth. Say it. Gu Mingming sat down and held Qixian's hand. She was all ears. Qixian pursed his lips and chuckled. I magnified Cole's possessiveness towards you. I even hinted to him that he loves you. Cough, 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 cough. Gu Mingming choked on Qixian's words. She looked at him with a confused expression. Leah also raised his eyebrows. He did not say anything else and was about to strike. Qixian hurriedly hugged Gu Mingming. Mom, let me finish first. Gu Mingming held on to Leah. She took 2 deep breaths to calm herself down. She said in a lifeless tone, say it. In Cole's original plan, he wanted to obtain you so that he could use you to open the doors of time and space. To achieve this, he first had to assimilate you. He had to pull you into his mindset and behavior. Only then would you feel that what he was doing was right. Only then would you help him complete what he wanted to do. Qixian finished in one breath. Then he took another deep breath. From the moment he poisoned me and held me hostage, his motive was not to threaten you, but to force you to abandon me. This proves that you and he are the same kind of person. As long as someone hinders you, you can eliminate them even if they are your family. Just like how he treated Daddy Leah and the First Highness of the Snow Fox clan. But no matter how much you've been hindered because of me, you've never given up on me. You'd rather compromise yourself over and over again. But you've never thought of taking the simplest path of killing me to end everything. Gu down him down. Xian down Qixian's. Mingming's face. I end. Chapter 1385. So when we were in Zacharias, I volunteered to stay behind to fight Leonard. A first-level orc challenging a fourth-level orc is courting death. I thought I was doomed. But you used the soul of the forest to save me. Qixian looked up at Gu Mingming, his eyes filled with admiration and attachment. He who rarely revealed his emotions, now looked extremely emotional. He rubbed his handsome face against Gu Mingming's arm and said, Mum, your maternal love is too great. For me, you don't seem to have any bottom line at all. You don't even blink when you use any precious things on me. In order to protect me, you can swallow any grievances. But I'm still constantly making you angry, making you sad, and saying things that deserve a beating. Gu Mingming rubbed Qixian's little head and said, No, you are only like this because Cole used his bewitching spell on you. You are not a bad child. Even now you are still defending me. Mum, you are probably the most gentle mother in the world. Qixian knelt by Gu Mingming's feet and continued. Cole realized that your love for me was boundless and it was impossible to force you to kill me. So he sent Miranda over. Gu Mingming's eyes widened. Gu Mingming raised her eyebrows and looked at Qixian. Qixian smiled and said, He knows that you treasure Daddy Leah, so he specially sent Miranda over to annoy you. He hopes that Daddy Leah and Miranda will have an amicable relationship, and then you will kill them. That way, he can prove that you are the same kind of person as him and that all traitors deserve to die. And then it should be. You cannot wait for others to betray you before you kill them. In order not to be betrayed, you must first kill everyone who might betray you. It seems like he learned something from the words left behind by the previous messenger of the beast deity. Something like, I would rather betray others. Gu Mingming thought for a moment and said, I would rather betray the world than let the world betray me. Qixian nodded and said, Yes, that seems to be it. Gu Mingming laughed coldly and said, Is this Cole trying to learn from Chow Chow? Well, Chow Chow's way of dying is quite special. Maybe it suits him. Qi did not pester Gu Mingming to ask about Chow Chow. He just kept it in mind. After settling Cole's matter, he would invite Gu Mingming to Zacharias for the winter. Then he could slowly listen to Gu Mingming tell him these stories. But Cole did not expect Daddy Leah to resist such a strong temptation and not touch Miranda. You didn't kill Miranda either. You just sold her. Qi heaved a sigh of relief and continued. Based on Cole's personality of not giving up until he reaches his goal, he will definitely try again after failing this time. And his moves will be more disgusting and vicious every time. I'm worried that once you fall for his dirty tricks, it'll be hard for you to get away. That's why I set up this trap and changed his thoughts about you. Gu Mingming looked at Qi in exasperation. Do you think that as long as he falls in love with me, he will not scheme against me or hurt me? But my silly son, do you really think that someone like Cole knows what love is? Qi shook his head and said, he is not worthy of loving you. Leah nodded in agreement. Qi had said all day, and this was the most pleasing to the ear. Chapter 1386. Gu Mingming sighed. If she had known earlier, she would not have used Sun Tzu's art of war and 36 stratagems to enlighten the children. She had been hot-headed at that time and thought that since the Snow Fox tribe loved to give up their esoterica, she would just carve one for them. To prevent the next messenger of the beast deity from treating her as a joke, she decided to give up on Wang Xiaoxin's 300 poems of the Tang dynasty and carve the 36 stratagems instead, mainly to make it look more impressive. At that time, she really did not expect that the things she used to act cool would cause her son to be so daring to take such a risk to meddle in Cole's affairs. Holding her forehead, Gu Mingming decided not to casually act cool anymore. Even if she wanted to, she could not do it in front of the children. Qi did not know what Gu Mingming was thinking about and just continued. No matter how I thought about it, the only thing that could make Cole go crazy was probably the matter of opening the doors of time and space. Although I do not know what the doors of time and space are, I know that if it is something that Cole wants to do, you would definitely not want to see it. So using this to provoke him would definitely not work. After thinking about it, he spent the most effort on you to open the doors of time and space. Step by step, he did things that looked like it was for your own good. He gave you all the things that looked beneficial on the surface, hoping to win your heart and make you like him. Although he had an ulterior motive, it was also true that he had spent so much effort on you. But no matter what he did, you just did not like him. So to someone like Cole who thinks that he is more intelligent than others and is unparalleled in the world, it was definitely a big blow. As a male, to a certain extent, he would definitely want to hunt you. So I used the fox seductive fragrance to confuse his mind. But just like what you said, Cole does not know what love is. So I could only magnify his possessiveness towards you and lead him to believe that possessiveness is love. Qi grinned at Leah and said, I dared to do that because I believed that Daddy Leah would definitely not let him succeed. Leah snorted coldly and said, You placed my female in that position and forcefully dragged me down with you? You don't have to flatter me now, and I can't just stand by and watch. But kid, I'll remember this debt first, and we'll slowly settle it in the future. Qi shrugged his shoulders and looked at Jiaoyu. Jiaoyu chuckled and took a step forward. He placed both hands on Li's shoulders and said, Daddy Leah, don't be so stubborn. You can't do anything to the four of us. Because no matter what, my mother's heart is always on our side. Leah gritted his teeth. What was the meaning of the Wheel of Fortune? What did the heavenly Tao mean by reincarnation? How many people had he ridiculed with these words in the past? Even Snake was infuriated by this sentence. Now the person who had infuriated him back then was being infuriated. Moreover, how similar was Jiaoyu's expression to his in the past. Yeah, I like it when you can't stand me but can't get rid of me. Chapter 1387. Once he is completely controlled by the bug. Qi chuckled. His gaze landed on Li's face. Daddy Leah will naturally have a way to make him obedient, and not dare to cause any more trouble. But he is so suspicious. How could he not discover that you had planted the bug in his body? Back then, Your daddy Leah had removed it because he discovered it himself. I guess that Cole must have the ability to do so. Gu Mengmeng really did not think that Cole would be so easily controlled. With his cautiousness, he would have immediately become suspicious the moment he realized that he could not control his emotions. Qi said innocently, "We did not plant the bug in his body. He did it himself." Gu Mingming frowned and looked at Qi in confusion. Qi pointed at his own forehead. Gu Mingming was suddenly enlightened. "Soul of the forest?" Qi nodded. "I first placed the bug on my forehead. This bug loves to bite plants by nature, so it naturally found its way to the soul of the forest. And Cole was the one who took the soul of the forest from my forehead and placed it in his right chest. The three of us never touched him." Gu Mingming frowned. Even though Qi was speaking so casually, was Cole such a scheming person? This winter, her three sons must not have had an easy time in Cole's hands. But it was obvious that these three fellows would never tell the truth. No matter how much she pestered them, they would only answer perfunctorily. They would never tell her what they had done this winter. Children are all grown up and have their own ideas. They did not want to let what had already happened become a reason for her to cry. So they only presented a perfect outcome to her. But they did not know that the more she did not know the process, the more she would let her imagination run wild. Humans' greatest fear often came from their own imagination and speculations. She forced a smile. Her children were not willing to let her worry, so how could she bear to let them worry for her? So Gu Mingming could only convince herself that it was fine as long as her three sons were fine. She would not ask about what her children did not want to say. She would always remember that Cole had bullied her sons. She would just get revenge in the future. In the evening, noises could be heard from outside and Gu Mingming knew that the first hunters had returned. Leah carried Gu Mingming and brought his three sons out of the stone castle, walking towards the deity altar. On both sides of the path, the Snow Fox clan and the Wolf clan formed a distinct standoff. Gu Mingming laughed coldly. Cole's arrival had indeed intensified the conflict between the Snow Fox clan and the Wolf clan. Everyone had a beast king, so no one was willing to concede. On the altar, Elvis and Cole stood on each side, each with a huge wild beast in front of them. Both of them stood there calmly, as if they did not care about winning or losing. Instead, the two groups of people below the stage were pushing and shouting at each other, giving off the feeling of street fights in old Hong Kong movies. Gu Mingming frowned and said coldly, "Creating trouble during the sacrificial ceremony for the first hunt. You guys are really looking down on me, the messenger of the beast deity." Gu Mingming's voice was not loud, but it effectively stopped both parties from taking action. The wolves retreated to Elvis's side in unison, then bowed their heads respectfully. "Queen." Chapter 1388. Gu Mingming did not bother with anyone, and just let Leah support her up the altar like an empress dowager. She looked at Elvis and then at Cole, asking with a smile, "Two beast kings, can anyone tell me what happened?" Elvis walked to Gu Mingming and held her other arm, then said softly, "It's just the Wolf clan and Fox clan fighting over whose prey to use for the sacrifice." Gu Mingming sat on the chair on the altar and held her chin, saying, "Oh, all right, then you guys fight it out. Inform me when you have a result." Cole bowed and smiled. "Since the great messenger is already here, then let the great messenger make the decision." "Me? That's not appropriate," Gu Mingming said nonchalantly. Cole smiled and looked at Gu Mingming dotingly, saying, "The great messenger represents the beast deity and is a supreme being. Everything she says is right. What's inappropriate about it?" Gu Mingming nodded and said, "All right, then the Fox clan will have their prey for the sacrifice." The moment Gu Mingming finished speaking, the people from the Snow Fox clan raised their heads and puffed out their chests, looking at the Wolf clan who were still arguing with them with a provocative and contemptuous gaze. Although the Wolf clan was not convinced, it was the Queen's decision after all. Without the Wolf King expressing his stance, they did not dare to act rashly, and could only lower their heads and bear with it. Gu Mingming saw everything and waited for the Fox clan to forget themselves before speaking again. "Warriors of the Wolf clan, carry your prey back to the stone castle with me. We will hold a night campfire party. Hudda, follow your brothers and carry your father's prey up. I want to bring it home to eat myself." In an instant, the atmosphere was tense and the faces of the Snow Fox clan froze. "Great Messenger, this sacrifice cannot be without you." Elder Eugene wanted to block Gu Mingming's way, but was blocked by the people from the Wolf clan. He could not get close to Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming stopped in her tracks and said, "Don't you have the Fox King here?" When he was the leader of Sauter, he also hosted many sacrifices. He couldn't have forgotten how to host after wandering for a few years, right? But it doesn't matter. The next time I see the beast god, I'll explain it to him. It's not convenient for me, the Wolf clan's queen, to interfere with the Fox clan's affairs, so I asked the Fox King to manage it on my behalf. My father has always doted on me, so he won't blame me for being lazy." Eugene wanted to say something else, but Gu Mingming beat him to it. "The sacrificial ceremony should be quite busy. I shall not waste your time." With that, Gu Mingming raised her head and shouted at the top of her lungs, "Loris, bring your tribesmen and come with me. Kiera has not seen you for a long time. Let's go play together today." Lawrence was Kiera's beast mother. Ever since she placed Kiera in Sandy's house, she used the excuse of being a child to hang out with Sandy, and gradually became familiar with Gu Mingming. Although the people from the 16 tribes were not as smart as the Snow Foxes, they still had this little bit of foresight. Hearing Gu Mingming call out Loris, they naturally understood that she was dragging the 16 tribes along with her to the campfire party with the Wolf tribe, leaving the Snow Foxes here alone to worship. Chapter 1389. In the past, Sauter's sacrificial ceremony also had such a lineup and Cole was only a 5th-level beast then. But now, even though he was a beast king, the entire scene suddenly became cold and cheerless, making the Snow Fox clan feel especially awkward. Gu Mingming had made her stance clear. She meant that if the Snow Fox clan dared to fight with the Wolf clan in the future, she would lead the Wolf clan and the 16 tribes to play alone, leaving the Snow Fox clan out to dry. Mighty Beast King this. Elder Eugene looked at Cole with a troubled expression. Cole chuckled and said, "No rush, take it slow. I have always been patient with Agu." 2 flowers bloomed, one on each side. Gu Mingming led her people back to the stone castle joyfully. The stone castle was built by the previous messenger of the beast deity, Wang Xiaoxin. After the messenger of the beast deity left, the successive tribe leaders stayed here. This was Sauter's iconic building and also the symbol of theocracy, so its style was naturally different from others. The large empty space at the entrance was no smaller than the area of the altar of deity. In addition, without the Snow Fox clan, the number of people was reduced by a third, so although the bonfire party was crowded, it still seemed especially lively. Gu Mingming purposely separated the Wolf clan from the 16 tribes, and sat together. At the start, they were all guarded against each other and felt uneasy. Hutta and his brothers were like butterflies jumping around the bonfire to liven up the atmosphere, and soon, the two sides became familiar with each other. To the Wolf clan, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. The enemy of the queen is the enemy of the Wolf King. And the enemy of the Wolf King is the enemy of the entire Wolf clan. Since the Wolf clan could not defeat the Fox clan alone, then it was naturally better to have more allies. For the 16 tribes, it was very difficult for them to survive in the gap between 2 tribes with beast kings. They did not think that they could fight against either the Wolf tribe or the Fox tribe. The best way was to rely on one of them and form an alliance with them. The so-called choice between the 2 tribes was actually a choice between the 2 beast kings. It was obvious that the Wolf clan was closer to the messenger of the beast deity, and there was a 9th highness in the family of the messenger of the beast deity. Once this 9th highness successfully leveled up and broke through his limits to activate the beast king bloodline like Elvis, then this legitimate beast king would become the true leader of the Fox clan. Cole, that stray beast king, would at most be a fake. By then, the Fox clan and Wolf clan would belong to the messenger of the beast deity. Hence, the priority of choosing a side in advance was naturally to follow the messenger's wishes. In today's sacrificial ceremony, the emissary's attitude was obvious. With such a consensus, the atmosphere between the 2 races naturally became harmonious. On such a night, it was inevitable that another fiery blind date would take place. Gu Mingming held her forehead and sighed. We can't sleep at home tonight. Let's go out and lie low for a while. Elvis and Leah were used to Gu Mingming avoiding other people's mating scenes, so they did not say much and left quietly with Gu Mingming. They had originally wanted to go to the stream to look at the stars, but Gu Mingming insisted on going to Sandy's house. The reason was simple. If I don't sleep, no one else is allowed to sleep. Chapter 1390. Sandy pointed at the bird circling in the sky and said, Is it that birdman Gregory who's still flying around blindly in the middle of the night? Gu Mingming looked up at the sky. I don't know, it's too far. I can't see clearly. But it shouldn't be so fast. Didn't he bring Miranda back to the Mota Mountains? He should at least take a few days to arrange for mating, right? After all, there are too many wolves but not enough meat. Females are so rare, they must be dealt with appropriately. As the tribe leader, if he doesn't stay behind to control the situation, wouldn't it be a mess? With that, Gu Mingming tilted her head and smiled at Sandy. Why? You like him? Gregory is quite a good male. His looks are definitely at the level of a Prince Charming. He is also very powerful. Most importantly, he can fly, and he can fly very high. If your family can add an air force, it's not bad. Sandy rolled her eyes at Gu Mingming. I don't want a blind man. Gregory isn't blind, okay? A vulture's eyes are very good. He can even see a potato dropping from such a high place. Gu Mingming defended Gregory. He's not blind. Sandy straightened her back. She roared as if she wanted to pick a fight with someone. If he's not blind, where did he get the confidence to say that he doesn't like you? Gu Mingming. Should she tell Sandy that Gregory had already slapped himself in the face, and now he liked her again? Sandy was filled with righteous indignation. I thought he would be around today after winter, so I wanted to see what kind of person he was. How dare he look down on our Gu Mingming? In the end, I didn't see him and couldn't vent my anger that I had been suppressing for an entire winter. Now I don't like any bird I see. TSK, none of the birdmen are good. Gu Mingming chuckled and said, Aya, aren't you being too presumptuous by saying that you can defeat a whole boat of people with one strike? That Ian and the rest are our people, right? By saying that, the Eagle Owl tribe is being treated unjustly. Sandy thought about it. That was true. Gregory had offended her, but the others with wings did not. But she had already scolded him. How could she take it back? So she cleared her throat. If any birdman is unhappy, ask them to settle scores with Gregory, who asked him to ruin the reputation of all the birdmen. Gu Mingming smiled apologetically. Yes, my precious Sandy is always right. Gu Mingming stayed at Sandy's house and chatted with Sandy the whole night, while Elvis and Leah sat by the side to accompany her the whole night. The arrival of the Lord Wolf King made Sandy's 7 wolf beasts excited for the entire night. Since then, they had even more love and respect for Sandy. The next morning, when Gu Mingming returned to the stone castle with a yawn, the entrance had already been tidied up. Gregory stood at the entrance, his gaze locked onto the direction Gu Mingming had appeared from. Seeing her return, he did not go up to her, but instead turned to leave. He didn't know why he had stood at the door for the whole night. He just wanted to wait for her to come back, but when she came back, he realized that he had no right to wait for her, so he could only leave. He stood in the wind for the entire night just to see her. Gu Mingming didn't greet Gregory either. Their relationship was extremely awkward. Both of them knew what was going on, and it wouldn't be appropriate to take a step back. Chapter 1391. The moment Gu Mingming pushed the door open, the 4 little fellows immediately sat up straight. They opened their eyes and stared at the door for a while. Gu Mingming could tell with one look that they were still in a daze from sleep. They looked alert, but their brains had not yet processed the situation. So she smiled and said, Go to sleep. I will wake you all up when Daddy Leah is done cooking. The 4 young men nodded blankly, then fell headfirst into a deep sleep. Gu Mingming smiled helplessly and shook her head. Elvis carried her up to the 2nd floor and said, You sleep for a while too. I will wake you up when Leah is done cooking. Gu Mingming was also tired after staying up all night, so she did not reject and allowed Elvis to carry her up to the 2nd floor to sleep soundly. She slept for the entire day. When she woke up, it was already evening. Rubbing her eyes, she went downstairs and saw her 4 sons surrounding Elvis. It looked like they had been fighting for quite a while. The 4 sons were all sweating profusely, but their eyes were shining with excitement. Elvis was fighting 1 against 4 with ease. The 4 little fellows could not gain any advantage in front of Elvis in any way they cooperated. Leah stood against the setting sun, and his shadow was elongated by the sunlight. He pointed in Gu Mingming's direction, and when he saw her coming downstairs, he could not help but smile. He lifted the lid of the pot and said while scooping some food, "Mingming, you're awake? You must be hungry. Come and eat." Gu Mingming nodded and walked to the dining table. Leah had just placed the bowls on the table when the 4 sons had already crowded around the table and sat at their seats. Gu Mingming used a beast's skin to wipe the sweat off Kanwa's forehead, who was sitting closest to her. She smiled and asked, "Look at what you guys did, you're all sweaty." Kanwa chuckled and said, "Mum, fighting with the Beast King is really exhilarating." Gu Mingming smiled helplessly and said, "We did not gain any advantage. What's so exhilarating about it?" Kanwa looked at Gu Mingming seriously and shook his head, saying, "Which wolf tribe can gain any advantage from the Wolf King? We will definitely lose, but just the 4 of us daring to attack the Wolf King is already much more valiant than the other wolves. Didn't you see Mother-in-Law 7? I heard from Colin that they're usually rampant at home, but when they're in front of the Wolf King, they're all docile and don't even dare to breathe loudly." Gu Mingming patted Kanwa's little head and said, Yes, you 4 brothers are the most ferocious. Why don't you take a look at who gave birth to your sons?" Kanwa was grinning so widely that only his teeth could be seen. He was obviously very pleased with himself. Gu Mingming continued, "But why don't you call him Father Beast? Should we call him Wolf King?" Kanwa straightened his neck and said arrogantly, "When my Kanwa's father is more honorable than the Wolf King, I will naturally call him father." "Silly son, parents are the most honorable titles in this world. No other titles can replace them." Kanwa shook his head and said, "No. One day, when I become a Beast King, I will call the Wolf King Father Beast." Gu Mingming was helpless. Her son was very ambitious, and she could not possibly pour cold water on him. Moreover, Elvis himself did not say anything, so what else could she say? She just rubbed Kanwa's head and asked, "What about me? Do you still call me Great Messenger or Snake King in the future?" Chapter 1392. We have 6 males in our family. Let us do those tough, dangerous and dirty things. You just have to stay at home obediently and be my mother. Gu Mingming sighed with a smile. Although the children refused to tell her what exactly happened at Cole's place during winter, it was not hard to guess from Kanwa's description. Tough, dangerous, dirty. Gu Mingming sighed softly. How many people have to fall into hell to protect one's innocence? If the price of letting me be carefree is that all of you are in danger, then why not? Leah hugged Gu Mingming's shoulder and hooked her chin with his other hand, blocking the rest of her words back into her mouth. Using his tongue, he crushed the rest of her words into a whimper. The kiss was deep, and when he let go, Gu Mingming looked at Leah with her face flushed red. He then chuckled and said, "As long as we can protect you completely, even if we fall into hell, we will still feel that we have a bright future ahead of us. So keep away your what-ifs and what-ifs. Just be a good little fairy and let us protect you. If you dare to do what you did on the Mota Mountains a second time, I will definitely return the favor and let you see everyone you care about die in the most tragic way in front of you, including me." Gu Mingming shrunk her neck and smiled. "Didn't I already explain? I only dared to jump because I was certain that Gregory would catch me. That was just an immature method to threaten others. I wasn't really seeking death. There are many ways to achieve your goal, but you chose the one that drove Elvis and me crazy." Leah looked at Qixian faintly. "You abandoned us for him. This makes me very unhappy." Gu Mingming knew that Leah would not really kill Qixian, but if he wanted to be evil, he would have endless ways to torture others. She was not willing to let her precious son fall into Li's evil hands. Hence, she immediately gave in and hugged Li's waist. Smiling, she said, "Isn't it because I am not as smart as you that I could only think of such a method that would harm myself? Why don't you tell me what you were planning to do at that time? I will learn well and not make such a mistake again. How could Leah not know what Gu Mingming was thinking? However, he wasn't going to do anything to Qixuan anyway, so he decided to go along with her wishes. He pinched her little nose and said, "It's very simple. You just have to sing a song." "Ah, what do you want to sing?" Gu Mingming was confused. Leah chuckled. "In the beast world, only two races know how to sing, the mermaids and the birds. The difference is that only the females of the mermaid clan can sing, while only the males of the avian clan can sing." Gu Mingming rolled her eyes and suddenly smiled. "So once a female's voice is heard in the Mota Mountains, it will definitely attract the attention of the other birds' tribe members. They will definitely come to investigate. As long as we attract everyone's attention, the success rate of finding one or two people who can send us down the mountain will be very high." Gu Mingming knocked her own head regretfully and said, "I'm so stupid, why didn't I think of that?" She had set her sights on Gregory, and thought that he was the only one with wings in the world. But then again, how do you know that only males can sing? Chapter 1393. Since you already had a plan, why didn't you tell me earlier? Then I wouldn't have done something so dangerous and made you worry. Gu Mingming looked at Leah with a wronged expression. Leah pinched Gu Mingming's nose and shook it left and right. "How many times have I told you to leave anything to me and Elvis to handle? As long as you remembered my words, you wouldn't have done anything like that. Now you still dare to accuse me? I was wrong." Gu Mingming knew she was in the wrong and didn't dare to push her luck. She just smiled apologetically. "Seeing the two of you jump down with me without saying anything, I was really scared. I won't dare to do it again. I really won't dare to do it again." So ever since they returned from the Mota Mountains, Gu Mingming didn't stick her neck out. She would obediently take 2 steps back and let Elvis and Leah handle anything. Even when coal appeared in solder, Gu Mingming didn't bother to handle it. She trusted that Elvis and Leah would have their own arrangements. Tilting her head, Gu Mingming asked again, "I have another question." "Leah." "Ask." Gu Mingming. "That cave is so far from the main mountain range, and the wind and snow are howling outside. With my tiny voice, how can my song travel that far?" Leah smiled faintly. He bent down and blew gently into Gu Mingming's ear. "If your voice doesn't work, there's still your scent. Don't forget, you have a scent that can make all males go crazy. As long as Elvis and I work harder, we can make use of that wind to make all the males on the Mota Mountains go crazy." Scent, fox, seductive fragrance. Gu Mingming glared at him. She crossed her arms in a defensive position. "You actually want me to sell my body?" Leah grinned. "With Elvis and me protecting you, no one will be able to get you. As long as that group of males who were driven by their primal desires approach the cave, Elvis can unleash his beast pressure to subdue them. Then he can preach righteousness, threaten and tempt them, or even use bewitching spells if that doesn't work. Anyway, there are countless ways to make them obedient." Gu Mingming held her forehead and said, "Leah, I really realized that a fox will always be a fox. I admit defeat and will never act smart in front of you again." Leah poked Gu Mingming's brows and said, "I will listen to it for now." Gu Mingming laughed mischievously. She had no choice. Her credibility with Elvis and Leah had long been destroyed. There was nothing she could do even if they did not believe in her promises. After the meal, Kanwu and Qixuan bade farewell to Gu Mingming. They were not around at the end of winter, so Zacharias was probably in chaos. Burke could not handle the situation alone, so they had to return as soon as possible to stabilize the situation. Gu Mingming hugged her 2 sons, reminding them not to risk their lives in the future, and to be more careful in doing things. The 2 of them just chuckled and did not answer her directly. Gu Mingming understood that in their hearts, they had already decided that males should shield females from the wind and rain, not letting females come into contact with any danger. So these 2 sons would still use their own methods to protect her next time. Gu Mingming took a step back. "At least promise me that you will ensure your own safety as much as possible." "We will." Qixuan hugged Gu Mingming back. "Mum, you should smile more. Your smile is the prettiest." Chapter 1394. After sending Qixuan and Kanwu off, Jiaoyu and Hutta started to busy themselves with the affairs of the tribe. The marriage alliance between the 16 tribes and the Wolf clan caused the internal situation of Sauter to be unstable. The Snow Fox clan had originally thought that with Cole as the Fox King, they would be able to stand up to the Wolf clan. Although Elvis was Gu Mingming's partner, the Snow Fox clan was still a native tribe and had a different foundation. But who would have thought that during the first hunt, Gu Mingming would gather the 16 tribes and the Wolf clan together? The situation instantly changed from a three-way fight to a one-sided fight, making it difficult for the Snow Fox clan to fight alone. But Cole was someone who did not care and ignored the situation, as if he did not care about the fate of the Snow Fox clan at all. So, the elders could only find another way to save the nation. That morning, Gu Mingming was carried by Leah to Sandy's house. At the border of Sandy's territory, she saw a familiar person. Arnold, a third-level male from the Snow Fox clan, was the one who had started the first battle with Hodgson on the day of the marriage alliance between Sandy and the Wolf clan. He was the leader of the younger generation. Great messenger. Arnold bowed respectfully to Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming looked at him in confusion. "You are here for something?" Arnold nodded and said, "I'm here to confess to female Sandy." Confess? Gu Mingming was even more surprised. Didn't the Snow Fox clan never marry outsiders? Going back 8 generations, even when Wang Xiaoxin was still alive, she did not have a single Snow Fox as a partner. They would rather raise their clans and become her followers, but none of them became her male. Leah was the only exception in the entire Snow Fox clan. When her identity as the messenger of the beast deity was exposed, although the Snow Fox clan did not dare to say anything openly, they did not hold back against Leah. It was only after Gu Mingming became the Beast King and became more domineering due to the influence of Snake's memories did they gradually restrain themselves. As the respected messenger of the beast deity, the Snow Fox clan did not welcome her. But this Arnold suddenly confessed to Sandy a half-orc? It wasn't that Sandy wasn't a good person. It was just that the Snow Fox clan was an arrogant race, and they couldn't help but be suspicious. Leah swayed his tail and smiled. "Do you think that I, the Ninth Highness, am not strong enough to stabilize the relationship between the messenger of the beast deity and the Snow Fox clan? So you want to imitate the Wolf clan and form a marriage alliance with Sandy?" Gu Mingming frowned. She looked at Arnold with a guarded expression. Arnold did not avoid the question. He smiled and replied, "After all, the Ninth Highness's heart is not on the Snow Fox clan's side, isn't it?" Leah nodded and confessed, "Of course, my heart only belongs to my Mingming. That's why the Snow Fox clan has to find another way out." Arnold admitted that he had proposed to Sandy for the sake of a marriage alliance. "Go back," Gu Mingming said. "I will not allow anyone with ulterior motives to get close to Sandy." Arnold didn't leave. Instead, he calmly asked, "Don't tell me that the members of the Wolf clan don't have ulterior motives when they mate with Sandy? Or is it that the great messenger favors one and discriminates against the other? The things that the Wolf clan can do, the Snow Fox clan cannot?" Gu Mingming was speechless. The 7 wolves from Sandy's family mated with Sandy because they wanted to rope Gu Mingming in through Sandy. This was the truth and there was no way to deny it. Chapter 1395. So even though the 7 wolves had impure motives, they would not do anything to harm Sandy. But the Beast King of the Snow Fox clan was Cole. She did not trust Cole, so she did not trust everyone in the Snow Fox clan. So she would not allow the Snow Fox clan to infiltrate Sandy's family. "You lost to Hodgson the last time. It must have been very frustrating, right? You were on par with him, but you only lost by half a move. Aya, it's really depressing to think about it." Leah swayed his tail and said nonchalantly, "But now he is a 4th-level beast. I wonder if you are still his match if you two were to fight now." Lee's meaning was that if he wanted to woo the other party's female, he would have to challenge the other party's male. The Wolf clan would not allow the Snow Fox clan to marry Sandy, so Hodgson was a hurdle he could not cross. This matter would not happen. Arnold lowered his head and smiled. Then, did the Ninth Highness mate with the Great Messenger because he defeated the Wolf King? Leah raised his brows and smiled. "Why? Are you Sandy's first love? Arnold shook his head and said, No. Leah asked again, Did you and Sandy have a lingering old relationship? Arnold shook his head again. No. Leah chuckled. Then what are you going to use to compete with me? Arnold stood straight and chuckled against the light. He did look like a carefree scholar. He said in a low voice, Old relationships are not as good as new ones. First love is not as good as long-term companionship. It has always been the Snowfox clan rejecting others. No one has ever resisted the Snowfox clan. After all, if a Snowfox male wants to coax a female, even a knowledgeable female like the Great Messenger would succumb to the Ninth Highness charm. Arnold may not be comparable to the Ninth Highness, but it should be enough to match Sandy. Leah was not angry. He just smiled. But you can't even enter the territory now, right? Arnold nodded. I heard that the Ninth Highness was chased out of the territory by the Great Messenger several times. It was only because of his infatuation that he managed to move the Great Messenger. Arnold also wants to imitate the Ninth Highness and act as an infatuated lover. Leah nodded and said, Good luck. With that, he swayed his tail and looked at Gu Mingming saying, Let's not disturb him while he is brewing his emotions. Sandy is going to complain to you again when he gets anxious. All right. Gu Mingming did not say anything else and just followed Elvis and Leah into Sandy's territory. Sandy used to sit at the entrance of the cave and bask in the sun. But today he had shrunk back into the cave. Clearly, he was avoiding Arnold. Upon seeing Gu Mingming, Sandy's face turned sullen. That person is still standing at the borders of the territory? Gu Mingming nodded, and Elvis placed her beside Sandy's bed. Gu Mingming sat in front of Sandy and hugged little Dodgy in her arms. She teased her and said to Sandy, Since you don't like him, just get Colin or Hodgson to chase him away. Why do you have to hide like this? You make it sound like you did something wrong. Chapter 1396. What I mean is what I mean. Whoever annoys you deserves to be beaten up. Gu Mingming didn't mind at all. Moreover, who in this world has to agree to someone's confession? Since he dared to confess, he should be mentally prepared to challenge your partner. Just treat it as sending Colin or Hodgson to accept his challenge. Who can he blame if he can't win? Sandy poked Gu Mingming's little head. How many years have you been in the beast world? Don't you know the rules of the beast world? You have to challenge your partner to woo a female, but they can choose, alright? Gu Mingming blinked her eyes and looked at Sandy in confusion. Sandy sighed and said, Don't tell me that ever since you mated with Elvis and Leah, no other males have confessed to you. Gu Mingming recalled and nodded. Yes, but it was only 2 or 3 times? Sandy continued. Then what did the 2 of them say when they confessed to you? Gu Mingming tilted her head and looked at Elvis and Leah. She thought for a while and shook her head. I forgot. It seems like I usually rejected them directly. Leah took a step forward and glared at Dodgy. Due to the connection between the 2 races, Dodgy very sensibly jumped out of Gu Mingming's arms. Only then did Leah carry Gu Mingming in his arms and pinched her little face. You little heartless one. Don't you know how much effort Elvis and I had put into getting rid of your rotten peaches? Huh. You still dare to say that you rejected them. Did you reject Burke when he impersonated Eugene? Did you reject that 2nd-level tiger beast in Zacharias when he confessed to you? And when that witch doctor in Saint Nazaire confessed to you? I rejected them all. Gu Mingming said righteously. I rejected them all when they confessed to me. That kind of rejection is not a rejection in the eyes of males. It is just a test of their sincerity and patience. Leah shook his head helplessly. Gu Mingming thought for a while. Impossible. I made myself very clear. Leah pinched Gu Mingming's face and shook it left and right, saying, Your gentle tone and tactful words sound like you're trying to reject me. No male will give up the thought of pursuing you after hearing it. Gu Mingming looked at Leah and Leah. Gu Mingming felt that she had made herself very clear. But to be honest, it was very burdensome to reject someone, especially in a place like the beast world. Unlike the modern world where guys confess to you with too many ulterior motives, the orcs here used their entire lives to prove to you how happy they could make you. Faced with such a pure dedication type of confession, Gu Mingming really could not say anything too harsh or sharp. Blinking her eyes, Gu Mingming asked Leah, "But they clearly didn't pester me after I rejected them." Leah was so infuriated by Gu Mingming that he laughed. He asked her, "Do you think they were rejected by your gentle words?" Gu Mingming nodded her head in deep agreement. "What else can I do?" Leah placed Gu Mingming opposite him, then looked into her eyes and sneered. "If you want to mate with my Gu Mingming, you must first challenge her partner. Do you want to challenge me or him?" Leah tilted his head. Elvis was standing behind him with a black face and a murderous aura. Chapter 1397. Why? Do you feel regretful? Leah glanced sideways at her, the smile on his face changing. It was filled with a strong warning. "If you dare to say you feel regretful, you are dead meat." Before Gu Mingming could say anything, the 7 wolves from Sandy's family all knelt on the ground. This made Gu Mingming dumbfounded. The words she wanted to explain were stuck at the tip of her tongue as she stared at Elvis and Leah in bewilderment. Sandy gave Gu Mingming a push and smiled. "Don't you know how jealous these 2 in your family are? Hurry up and coax them, or bring out your female prowess." Gu Mingming facepalmed. "What female prowess? Don't you know I am a coward?" Sandy also smiled. "If you are a coward, hurry up and coax them. If you don't, Hodgson and the rest will not be able to hold on any longer." Gu Mingming smiled helplessly and shook her head. She held on to Leah with one hand and Elvis with the other. She smiled. "Why are you scaring Sandy's partners? They have never confessed to me. Moreover, coaxing the 2 of you is enough for me. Why would I have the time to invite another troublemaker back? Do you think your life is too comfortable?" Elvis retracted his aura, and the 7 wolves finally stood up. Colin carried Sandy and said, "Let's go out and get some sunlight. You can't always hide in the house. At most, we will cover you up and prevent him from seeing you or you from seeing him. How about that?" Colin had protected Gu Mingming before, and he knew that this was the time to hide. Although in the beast world, with their hearing, they could still hear their conversation no matter how far they hid, but Gu Mingming was a prideful person. She still had to do such things. Sandy nodded, and Hodgson took out 3 thick animal skins and laid them outside the cave. Bode took out some of Sandy's favorite fruits and placed them on the animal skins. After Hodgson carried Sandy out and placed her on the animal skin, the males lined up and formed a human barrier around Sandy. After Sandy's family left, Elvis and Leah finally put Gu Mingming down. Both of their expressions did not look too good as they pursed their lips and did not say a word. Gu Mingming looked at the 2 of them communicating with their eyes in front of her, as though they were using Morse code to communicate with each other. She looked at them in a daze the entire time, not knowing what was wrong with them. Wasn't everything fine when he arrived? Originally, they were talking about Arnold's pursuit of Sandy, but she didn't know how it ended up involving her. But she also said that she had no intention of finding a new partner, so why did the 2 of them still look constipated? The 2 of them exchanged glances for a long time before Leah finally spoke. He sat upright in front of Gu Mingming and asked, "Mingming, actually you?" Gu Mingming just looked at Leah, waiting for him to say something. But when the words were at the tip of her tongue, they seemed to be extremely difficult to say. Even someone as eloquent as Leah could not say anything. Gu Mingming waited for a long time, but seeing that Leah still could not say anything, she took the initiative to ask, "What about me?" Leah frowned slightly and looked at Gu Mingming with a pair of deep and indescribable heaviness. He asked, "Do you not like Elvis and me anymore?" "Ha!" Gu Mingming was dumbfounded. She shook her head like a rattledrum. "Who said that? How can it be? You are my man. If I don't like you, who should I like?" Chapter 1398. No, I really didn't." Gu Mingming waved her hands in denial. Leah smiled bitterly. He was hoping for her to deny it, but when she really denied it, he did not believe her. Normally, a female would take in 5 to 10 new males every year. Other than the first partner, she would eat 2 to 3 during winter and 4 to 5 would die during normal battles. In this way, the total number of members in the family would not change, but the males would always be new. Leah sighed and continued, The number of males in our family is originally less than others. You know how to store food so you don't need to eat your partners during winter. Elvis and I are the more tenacious type and would not die easily in battle. So you have already been in the beast world for 4 years. According to other families' situation, you should have already had 20 to 40 partners. Just hearing this number made Gu Mingming's scalp go numb. Somehow, she thought of the scene of Sandy mating with Hodgson and Jerry. 2 males were enough to keep a female bear like Sandy in bed for 7 days. What the hell? Gu Mingming felt that she might die in bed with 20 to 40 partners. Until now, she still could not feed the 2 males in her family. Every time she brewed, she would beg them to be gentler and take pity on her. And they did feel sorry for her. After that, the 2 of them did not torture her anymore. But even if one of them was especially restrained, she would still faint every single time. 20 to 40. Just thinking about it made Gu Mingming's legs turn to jelly. One of Li's arms was held by Gu Mingming, so he used his other hand to hold Gu Mingming's little hand that was on his arm. He continued, with Elvis and me keeping watch, the number of males who dare to confess and woo you is far more than this. Without the 2 of us, you would definitely be more popular. There would be an endless stream of males around you, bringing you different kinds of joy and joy. Every day, there would be fresh faces trying their best to cater to you and please you, unlike now, where you can only face me and Elvis every day. Leah held Gu Mingming's hand and placed it on his face. He tried his best to smile but looked very sad. His voice was slightly trembling, and his eyes were filled with uneasiness. This face, do you still like it? Can it still attract your attention? I like it, of course I like it, Gu Mingming answered hurriedly. Did she really not know what had happened to Elvis and Leah? Suddenly his mood was so low. Could it be that even males were in a bad mood for a few days a month? But, how long has it been since you last blushed when looking at me? Your eyes will no longer reveal that kind of infatuation when you look at me. Leah lowered his eyelids, his long eyelashes forming a shadow under his eyes, concealing most of his expression. Once upon a time, as long as I appeared in the crowd, you would see me at one glance and your eyes would never leave me. But now I'm always by your side, yet you rarely look at me. That's right, no matter how beautiful a face is, after looking at it for 4 years, one should be tired of it. I'm not like Elvis, your first partner, and the mark is not on your heart. It's also possible that you're sick of me. Chapter 1399. Gu Mingming felt wronged. She did not want to find a new partner. Leah held onto her hand, his fingertips trembling. He appeared to be very careful as he begged. Not only that, I will change all the things you don't like. I will never threaten you again. I will support you in whatever you want to do. In the future, if there are males pursuing you, I will also not be a hindrance. Don't abandon me, alright? It's alright even if I don't get favored. It's alright even if I don't have my current status in the family. I don't care about anything. As long as I can see you again, I will be satisfied, alright? Gu Mingming rubbed her head, looking at Leah in a daze asking, did you take the wrong medicine? What are you talking about? When did I want to find a new partner? When did I say I want to abandon you? What are you talking about? Leah lowered his head, replying, you already think that Elvis and I are trouble, don't you? Leah laughed self-deprecatingly, not daring to look into Gu Mingming's eyes. His gaze drifted to the side, muttering in a low voice, yeah, which male dares to be so brazen in front of females? You treated me too well in the past, causing me to forget myself. It's normal for you to be sick of me. I'm not sick of you. Gu Mingming held onto Li's shoulders, roaring angrily. Can you be more normal? What's going on? Your sudden pretentiousness is making me very confused. You clearly said find another trouble just now. Doesn't that mean that Elvis and I are already trouble in your eyes? Li's gaze dimmed, obviously hurt. Gu Mingming smacked her head, feeling rather speechless. Sighing, she looked at Elvis, asking, you two were making eye contact in front of me just now, and this is the result of your communication? Elvis hesitated for a moment, but still nodded honestly. Gu Mingming was so angry that she wanted to laugh. She thought that only females would be so sensitive, getting into a dead end because of an unintentional sentence, but it turned out that males could do it too. Gu Mingming simply sat cross-legged by the bed, looking at Elvis and Leah saying, "Tell me, did the two of you suffer from some trauma recently? Our family has always been like this. We've been living well for the past 4 years. I don't believe that nothing happened. You two suddenly became pretentious. Did he hear something? Or did he see something? Cole instigated the two of you." Gu Mingming thought about all the possibilities and asked them one by one. Elvis remained silent and Leah also pursed his lips without saying a word. However, his gaze could not help but drift towards the door and look at Sandy who was sitting there. Gu Mingming was confused. "Why? Did Sandy scold you?" Leah shook his head and tried to pull Gu Mingming's little hand. Seeing that she did not resist, he then pulled her into his arms and hugged her gently. He rested his chin on the top of Gu Mingming's head and said, "Ever since Sandy tamed those 7 wolf beasts, Elvis and I felt that something was wrong." Gu Mingming thought about it, but could not understand. Thus, he could only open his mouth and ask, "What does it have to do with you two that he's taking in a new partner? What, you two want to cheat on me and hook up with my best friend?" Leah clenched his teeth and wanted to poke Gu Mingming's head and scold her for being heartless. But he swallowed his words back and his hand stopped in front of Gu Mingming's forehead. He sighed and put his hand back. He just lowered his eyes and said, "Do you still remember Bode's and Colin's reactions on the day Sandy took in a new partner?" Gu Mingming thought about it and shook her head. "What reactions did they have? It was too crowded that day and I did not notice. There didn't seem to be any reactions. Aside from the topic. Alright my babies, this is the last chapter of the explosive chapter. The first day was free, the second day 130 chapters, the third and fourth day 50 chapters each. Susu's explosive chapter was considered to be very sincere, right? So can Susu be bold and confident when she says she wants the monthly votes for this round? Chapter 1400. Yes, there was no reaction. One is the first partner, and the other has a mark on his heart. These two people watched as Sandy took in 7 new partners and did nothing. They did not even show any signs of unhappiness. Leah chuckled and looked down at Gu Mingming, who was in his arms. "Say, if it was me and Elvis, what would happen?" Gu Mingming smiled without thinking. "You would definitely explode, right? If the two of you knew that I went through a marriage to maintain the stability of the tribe, you would probably crush the tribe into pieces and say to me, 'Alright, the tribe is gone, there's no need to maintain stability anymore.' Hehehe, that should be the case, right?" Gu Mingming mimicked Elvis and Lee's exploding behavior. She felt that she was rather comical and could not stop giggling. But Leah and Elvis could not bring themselves to laugh. They nodded. "Yeah, we might really do that." The atmosphere was so awkward that Gu Mingming could not laugh anymore. She pursed her lips and asked, "So, what are you trying to say?" Leah said, "Elvis and Bode are both first partners. If you really like him, he will force himself to accept the newbie you choose. But if you don't like him and have no other choice but to mate with him, he would rather die than to let the male you don't like enter the house." Colin's mark was imprinted on Sandy's chest. He was the man that Sandy had loved for many years. Before Hodgson and Sandy had become partners, he had been the strongest member of Sandy's family. He was also the male who loved his beast the most. If he tried to stop Sandy from marrying a wolf beast, Sandy would definitely not ignore his objections and insist on accepting a new partner. But we talked to Bode and Colin a few days before Sandy became partners with the wolf beast. We asked them why they did not stop it from the start. Can you guess what they said? Gu Mingming tilted her head. Actually, she wanted to ask too. Even she had tried to persuade Sandy not to force herself to marry a wolf beast. But Bode and Colin did not say a single word. This was very strange. If Gu Mingming did not know how Bode and Colin felt towards Sandy, she would have suspected that they did not love Sandy. Leah said, "They said that Sandy is a female." Gu Mingming asked, "And then?" Leah shook his head and said, "There are only these 5 words, Sandy is female." Gu Mingming's face was filled with question marks, as if she could not keep up with the rhythm. Leah sighed and said, "The female is the head of the household. No matter what she wants to do, the males should not interfere and can only obey. Not only did Elvis and I question your decision, we even criticized you." Ha! Even with Colin's mark on Sandy's heart, he did not dare to criticize Sandy, afraid that he would lose her favor. As for me, Lee's gaze landed on Gu Mingming's ears. Then he laughed and said, "How gutsy must I be to dare to scare you, threaten you, force you to do things you don't like without any scruples, and even watch as you turn around to coax me as if it was a matter of course. Being spoiled and arrogant is a very dangerous thing. When you like me, you'll naturally do whatever I say. But if one day you're annoyed by me, then tell me, what am I?" Gu Mingming finally understood. These two suddenly felt a sense of crisis because of Sandy's mating. Chapter 1401. I like how the two of you protect me, control me, consider everything for me and make the most beneficial decision for me. Gu Mingming hugged Lee's neck and looked straight into his eyes. She smiled. Other people are other people, and we are us. I don't like the idea of men being superior to women, and I don't like the idea of women being superior to men. We are husband and wife and have the same status in the family. We have the same right to speak. So if I can be jealous of Miranda and forbid her from getting close to you, why can't you be jealous of other males getting close to me? As for the threats, you're too serious. Even if you say something to scare me sometimes, it's just talk. You've never really done anything to hurt me, right? That's why those threats have no effect on me at all. They can't make me afraid. I'll give in, not because I'm afraid of your threats, but because I know that since you've threatened me, it means that you don't like it. I don't want to make you unhappy, so I'm pretending to be threatened by you. At my place, this is called flirting. It's a form of fun. How did it become a heinous crime that cannot be forgiven by the heavens? Really? Leah didn't seem to believe her. He added on. The males at your place will also threaten females? Gu Mingming nodded with a smile. Yeah, they will often say things like, if you dare to give your number to any guy who flirts with you, I will break his leg. Or if you dare to leave me, I will kill you. It's very common. Leah frowned. He hugged Gu Mingming tightly. I won't break your leg or kill you. I can't bear to do it. Gu Mingming smiled and kissed the side of Lee's face. Of course I know you can't bear to do it. The two of you thought I was going to die when I had a nosebleed. You were so nervous. How could you domestic abuse me? The guy who said those words would not really break the girl's legs, nor would he really kill her. They were just using a more violent way to tell the girl that they really mind her giving her number to strangers. They really don't want to hear her break up. Usually, the girl just needs to act cute and say, I know I was wrong. I won't dare to do it again. Then everything will be fine. Who would abandon their partner because of such words? Leah hugged Gu Mingming tightly in his arms and said in a deep voice, Mingming, I was abandoned by you before, so I know how painful that feeling is. How happy I am with you. How painful it is to leave you. After mating, I'm more than 100 times happier than when I was in a light relationship with you. So if one day you're tired of me, Mingming, I won't be able to withstand your second abandonment. I really won't be able to endure it. Gu Mingming hugged Leah back gently and said, What silly things are you saying? I won't abandon you. Even though you and Elvis always call me a liar, at least I won't go back on my word on this matter. Leah nodded. As long as you don't regret this, everything else doesn't matter. Good for nothing. Gu Mingming smiled and shook her head. Then she pushed Leah away, creating a distance between them. She tilted her head and asked, Is it okay now? Let's not be pretentious, okay? We're still at Sandy's house right now, and the owner of the house can't even go back because of us. Chapter 1402. After comforting Leah, Gu Mingming turned to look at Elvis and asked, Hubby, do you also think that I will abandon you? Elvis struggled internally, but he still nodded his head in the end. After Sandy mated, I gathered all the first partners in the wolf tribe. After asking around, I realized that there was indeed no one like me who would stop a female from taking on a new partner. It was also the first time that a family did not have a new member for 4 years. I came from the stray beasts and am naturally more selfish than others. Moreover, I have nothing, only you. Because you are everything, I am more afraid of losing. After seeing Leah panicking, Elvis was naturally affected and became uneasy. Today, Sandy had unintentionally said, "Admit defeat or show off your might as a female?" It was as if a lightning bolt had struck their hearts, breaking the tightest thread in their hearts. So even outsiders could see that they had often forced Gu Mengmeng to admit defeat. Were they the only ones who did not know that they had already reached such a stage? Hence, the two of them exchanged glances and reminisced about the past. The more they thought about it, the more shocked they became. In the end, they even felt that it was reasonable for Gu Mengmeng to make the decision to abandon them now. Gu Mengmeng came out from Li's arms and held Elvis's face with both hands. She took the initiative to cover Elvis's lips, but did not go deep. After a long while, Gu Mengmeng finally moved her lips away and said with a smile, "Hubby, did you forget something important?" "Huh?" Elvis did not understand. Gu Mengmeng said, "I originally did not belong here. When I came, I had nothing other than that set of bikinis. I was the one who truly had nothing. Wasn't it you who connected me to this world? Before I was around, you were already the leader of Saint Nazaire. You and Leah were both famous warriors and no one dared to be impudent in front of you. I still remember when I first arrived at Saint Nazaire, you gave everyone a cold stare, and everyone was so scared that they did not dare to speak. At that time, I was thinking, I have to cling on to this thigh tightly, or else I will not be able to survive in the beast world." Gu Mengmeng changed her position and nestled herself into Elvis's arms. Her back pressed against his chest, and her head rested on his shoulder. She tilted her head to look at Elvis and said, "After that, you really covered for me. When I used my power to bully others, you stood on my side without even asking if it was right or wrong. When I was upset because of Leah, I even said that I wanted to banish Nina, but you supported me unconditionally without even thinking about it. You always put me first and prioritize me in everything. Moreover, ever since we became partners, these two legs of mine have almost never walked. No matter far or near, you always carry me. You've spoiled me to the point where I can't even take care of myself. If I were to leave you, I might not even be able to survive a day." Gu Mengmeng wrapped her arms around Elvis's neck and kissed his chin lightly with her lips. She smiled sweetly and said, "You have already fused into my life. You are my entire world. If I leave you, I won't have a place to live." Elvis hugged Gu Mengmeng tightly and nodded without saying a word. Chapter 1403. The beast deity had once said that once the 7 treasures were gathered, the doors of time and space would open. What if Gu Mengmeng wanted to leave them and go over to Snake's side? Perhaps it was because he had been so thoroughly defeated by Snake that even though he was the Wolf King now, he had no confidence when facing Snake. Snake's words so weak, when he carried Gu Mengmeng back, was like a knife stabbing into his heart, forcing him to fight again and again to become stronger. But even if he was strong enough to look down on the entire beast world, he did not have a single chance to win against Snake. If the 7 treasures were really gathered and he lost to Snake again, this was the real reason why he and Leah were uneasy. And he and Leah would not tell Gu Mengmeng all these. They could not say it and did not dare to say it, afraid that they would hear an answer they did not want to know. They were even more afraid that she would suddenly go back on her words after agreeing to stay. In this lifetime, this was probably the only thing he was afraid of, being cheated by her. Gu Mengmeng did not know what Elvis was thinking. She thought that Leah had already said everything. Now that he had explained everything, the two of them shouldn't let their imaginations run wild anymore. Thus he felt relieved and said, "It's not good for us to overtake the host like this. Besides, I'm here to play with Sandy. If there's anything else, let's talk when we get home, alright?" Elvis and Leah nodded and did not say anything else. Elvis carried Gu Mengmeng out of the house and saw Sandy giggling with a profound expression. Waving his hands, he said, "Alright, I know you can't control them at all. In the end, you still have to coax them. I'm already used to it and won't laugh at you, so don't be awkward." Gu Mengmeng felt even more awkward after hearing her words. She sat beside Sandy and pinched her, saying, "What's wrong with coaxing our own men? They already have so many things to deal with outside. If even I bully them, wouldn't their lives be too miserable?" Sandy pointed at Elvis and then at Leah, asking with a smile. Them? Miserable? Haha, the only person in this world who can make them miserable is you. Aside from your intermittent spasms that force them to be helpless, I've never seen anyone else who can control them. Gu Mingming wrinkled her nose and smiled. Then she used her chin to point at Arnold, who was looking at Sandy affectionately. What about that? What are you going to do? I can't be a door god every day. Sandy sighed. What else can we do? She didn't enter my territory, so my males don't have the right to expel her. She didn't confess to me, so I couldn't reject her. People can stand in the public area and watch the wind, rain, and sun. Why should I say that people are looking at me? And even if I really did see it, why wouldn't I let them see it? There's nothing I can do. Gu Mingming held her chin and looked at Arnold, then back at Leah. Smiling, she said, although he's not as good as my husband, he still looks like a good guy. You really won't consider taking him in? Sandy looked at Hodgson and whispered, if I take him in, my family's situation will be more lively than the entire solder. Just let me live for a few more days. Gu Mingming laughed and said, then if you don't want to, I'll think of a way to stop him from thinking about you. Chapter 1404. Gu Mingming shook her head and smiled. I don't, but Leah definitely does. If you annoy him, I will ask Leah to reject him for you. Sandy turned to look at Leah, as if waiting for him to express his stance. Lee's gaze was fixed on Gu Mingming's face the entire time. He had not completely recovered from his low spirits. He was still worried in his heart, but he tried his best not to let Gu Mingming see it. So he chuckled and replied, how can I not agree to anything Gu Mingming wants me to do? Gu Mingming mumbled softly. I said Mr. has a nest of little foxes, but you didn't agree. Leah naturally heard it and his heart warmed. She was still willing to bear children for him. This proved that she did not hate him. Smiling, Leah pinched Gu Mingming's little face gently. Aren't we going to the Mota Mountains to retrieve the love of the sky during the dry season? I will accompany you to make foxes when I return. I will not stop until you get pregnant, all right? Pfft. Gu Mingming blushed. I still want to live for another 2 years. Not stopping until I get pregnant. That's too embarrassing. And Gu Mingming did not doubt that she would lose her life before she got pregnant. Just thinking about Lee's piledriver's endurance made her kidneys ache. The beast world did not have any sense of shame about mating. Moreover, after Sandy gave birth and took in so many new partners, she was even more open-minded. She did not feel that there was anything wrong with Gu Mingming and Leah discussing having children in front of her. She just tugged at Gu Mingming's arm. Does the promise you made to me still count? What? Gu Mingming came to solder almost every day to talk to Sandy. It was normal for her to forget 1 or 2 things after making so many promises. Sandy glanced at Gu Mingming's stomach. If the little fox you give birth to is a daughter, can you choose one of my sons as your partner? It doesn't matter if it's not the first partner. I just have to take in one. Gu Mingming glanced at the 3 little ones who were practicing their fighting techniques with Bode. She smiled. I can't make the decision on this. You also know that we are particular about the freedom of love. She has to choose her own man. After all, that is her life. However, no matter if it's a boy or a girl, my door will always be open to your family. You're welcome to bring your son here often to cultivate your feelings. But whether it succeeds or not will depend on fate. That's all I need. Sandy smiled in satisfaction. As long as Gu Mingming did not object, this matter would be settled. After all, Sandy was still very confident in his own son. However, the 2 females didn't know that the conversation between their best friends was like a monstrous wave in the ears of the 7 wolves and Arnold. Oh right, are you going to the Mota Mountains during the dry season? Sandy asked. Gu Mingming nodded. This matter has already been decided. Gregory is staying in solder. When the time is right, he will bring me to the Mota Mountains to retrieve the love of the sky. Without that thing, my Lord Fox wouldn't let me get pregnant. Sandy pouted her lips and said with an ugly expression, Can that birdman be trusted? Previously, he said that he didn't like you and kept looking for trouble with you. TSK, he wouldn't throw you down halfway, would he? Chapter 1405. Oh my God, why are you so daring? Sandy was so shocked that she jumped up, completely forgetting about Arnold. Her eyes reddened in an instant, and she glared at Gu Mingming as if she was about to cry. She complained. If anything happens to you, what do you want me to do in the future? I have 11 partners and 3 sons, but you are my only friend. Do you know how important you are to me? You actually dared to fall down without thinking. Gu Mingming sobs. If anything happens to you, I will never forgive you. Sandy had not cried for a long time. Ever since Oakley had plotted the stray beasts to attack Sauter, and 5 of her partners had died that day, Sandy had never cried again. She grew up strong and quickly shouldered Gu Mingming's responsibilities as a mother, taking good care of Hutta and Jiaoyu. If not for the fact that they did not have any wolf beasts in their family, everyone would have thought that Hutta and Jiaoyu were Sandy's sons. And when she heard about Gu Mingming's reckless jumping off the cliff, her eyes reddened in an instant. Gu Mingming knew that Sandy would definitely turn hostile once she mentioned this matter. Other than Elvis and Leah, only Sandy would dare to scold her over this matter. Gu Mingming knew that she was in the wrong and she had always been helpless when it came to Sandy's tears, so she could only carefully and obediently coax her. Good Sandy, don't cry when you cry. Even my heart will tremble. I was wrong, I was really wrong, I will never dare to do it again. Moreover, don't you see that I am standing in front of you in one piece? Not a single strand of hair is missing, really. Sandy wiped away her tears while sobbing. She tugged at Gu Mingming's arm and scrutinized her closely. She really wanted to count all her hair, to see if she was missing a single strand. Seeing that she was indeed fine, she heaved a sigh of relief. But her heart still had lingering fears and her tears only stopped flowing after a long while. Leah and Elvis looked at Gu Mingming's cowardly look in front of Sandy and lowered their heads to chuckle. Originally, they were already feeling troubled over the Mota Mountains incident, but they could not bring themselves to do so in front of Gu Mingming. Now that there was Sandy, this troublesome vixen, to teach Gu Mingming a lesson, the two of them were happy and at ease. However, Sandy's partners, especially the newly mated 7 wolves, were suffering. This was the first time they had seen Sandy cry. They immediately panicked. They wanted to go up and coax her, but the queen was sitting there, occupying the position, and they couldn't do anything. What's more, the Wolf King had an expression that said, "Whoever dares to come over will be crushed to death." They were really helpless. Bode patted Hodgson's shoulder and said, "Don't panic. At times like this she has more ways than us." Hodgson smiled awkwardly. He remembered the first day after mating, when a row of new partners thanked the queen for not being male. Gu Mingming, tell me, will you still dare to be rash in the future? Sandy's nose was red as she asked Gu Mingming while sniffling. Gu Mingming hurriedly shook her head and held Sandy's chubby little hands with both hands. I won't dare to do it again. Aren't you afraid that your golden beans will drown me? Let me tell you, if anything happens to you, I won't live anymore. I won't let you off even if I become a ghost. Sandy threatened. Chapter 1406. As Gu Mingming spoke, she picked up the cup of water and deliberately shook her hands, spilling the water all over the place. How could Sandy not see through her act? Sniggering, he took the cup from Gu Mingming's hands and placed it at the side. I will let you off this time, but only this time. Gu Mingming snuggled into Sandy's arms and smiled sweetly. Once is enough. I won't dare to do such a stupid thing again. Sandy calmed herself down and said, Since Gregory likes you, and he's strong and can fly, do you want to consider taking him as your partner? Gu Mingming was like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. She sat up immediately and shook her head furiously. No, I definitely won't. Sandy asked, why? Didn't the 2 great Buddhas of your family agree? Your family hasn't taken in anyone for 4 years. You are such an outstanding female. You should contribute to the beast world and pass down your outstanding genes, right? Look at Hutta and his brothers. How outstanding are they? They are only 3 years old and each of them is outstanding. You should give birth to more children. Gu Mingming held Sandy's shoulders with both hands. It's not a problem to give birth. Elvis and Leah promised me that I can give birth to as many children as I want after I get the love of the sky. But you have too few partners. Even half-orcs and crippled females have more than 2 partners. Sandy felt wronged for Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming really wanted to cry. She had spent so much effort to appease Elvis and Leah. But Sandy, her bad friend, had to rub salt into her wounds again, shaking her head. Gu Mingming smiled bitterly and accepted her fate. In the blink of an eye, it had been 4 years since she came to the beast world. Sandy was the only one who could be considered her best friend. She had a good relationship with the 16 valued females, but they had a blind admiration for her, and it was hard for them to be on the same level. It was not easy to interact with them. Only Sandy was different. Just like just now, she could not find another person in the beast world who dared to point at her nose and scold her. Only Sandy would risk her entire family's lives for her and stand by her side without hesitation. Gu Mingming sighed, then replied seriously, I don't like Gregory. I don't have any feelings for him. There's no connection. Sandy glanced at Hodgson's group of 7, then smiled and said, Feelings can be cultivated. When I mated with Hodgson and the others, I didn't like them either. I didn't have any feelings for them. But after getting along with them for a while, they treated me very well. They were considerate and gentle. They would think of everything for me first and consider everything for me. We get along very well. They are also my important family now. Like Bode and Colin, they are my beloved partners. I won't look down on them just because I didn't have feelings for them when I first mated, and they won't blame me for mating with them when I didn't have feelings for them. In the beast world, most families are like this. As long as the males are good enough, the females should give them a chance. Chapter 1407. That's why I can't be nice to Gregory, not at all. Gu Mingming knew all too well how lowly the males in the beast world were when it came to relationships. Even someone as arrogant as Snake liked her so much that he was willing to cut open his chest and dig out his gallbladder to relieve her of her pain, just because of her smile and cowardice. Even before he died, he still smiled and comforted her. Even after he died, he still said goodbye to her in the dream of the beast deity, because he was worried that she would be burdened. He went to another world to look for her. Even though he had died once because of her, he still loved and protected her with a heart full of joy. He did not bear any grudges because of her death, and only treated her as the treasure in his heart. She was extremely afraid of this kind of crazy love, because you would never be able to reciprocate it. Leah was able to pester her to such an extent, because she liked Leah. She left some leeway in all her rejections and could not really be heartless. No matter how much she tried to hypnotize herself about the values of marriage and love, she still could not resist his deep love and his amorous eyes. So they were entangled, and after many twists and turns, they finally got together. She had no feelings for Gregory, so she could not let others misunderstand. She had to be heartless now so that he would have the chance to love someone else in the future. Sandy shrugged and said, All right, if you don't like it, I won't force you. Anyway, these two in your family treat you very well. Even though they are a little domineering, they still love you dearly. Gu Mingming smiled and leaned on Sandy's shoulder, saying, They are not domineering. You didn't see Snake. TSK, self-taught domineering persona. That is really. Woman, you are playing with fire, haha. Sandy burst into laughter at Gu Mingming's sudden words, which she suppressed her voice, and the two females became a mess. Hodgson and the rest looked at each other, and could not help but look at Bode with admiration. That gaze seemed to be saying, No wonder you are the first partner. You really understand, Sandy. Bode returned a slight smile, as if saying, Well said, well said. It was only in the afternoon when Elvis and Leah carried Gu Mingming back to the stone castle. While Arnold was still standing outside the territory, his posture imposing, Gu Mingming could not help but admire him. He had been standing there for an entire morning, yet he could still maintain such a demeanor. Whenever she lifted her head to look at him, he would look like a poster. He really had perseverance. Leah followed Gu Mingming's gaze and looked at Arnold. He felt a little upset but still asked, You like him? Ah. Gu Mingming was in a daze and did not catch on to Li's joke. Leah said, "If you like it, he will definitely be willing. After all, mating with you is more effective than mating with Sandy." Gu Mingming shook her head and waved her hands. No, no, no. I'm not acting in strange stories from a Chinese studio. Why would I need so many vixens? You alone are enough. Li's expression brightened and he nodded with a smile. After returning home, Leah made dinner. After Elvis fed Gu Mingming, Leah handed the cutlery to Oriton to clean. He then took out the comb that Cole had given to Gregory previously. He asked Gu Mingming, "Do you still want this?" Gu Mingming's eyes lit up. Gu Mingming had long forgotten about the comb, and was rather surprised to see Leah take it out. It's still here. I thought I had thrown it away long ago. I don't want it. I don't want it. What do I want it for? You can deal with it as you see fit. Chapter 1408. Gu Mingming guessed that Leah had probably brought that comb to Cole, although she did not know what they talked about. But after that night, Arnold no longer stood at the border of Sandy's territory posing, counting the days. Little shit should be arriving soon. Gu Mingming was a little timid as she discussed with Elvis and Leah. Could they not tell little shit about the stupid things she did on Motor Mountains? Because once little shit knew that she had jumped off a cliff, he would explode on the spot. He had said many times that her life was exchanged with snakes, and she had to cherish it. But no matter how many times she said it, Elvis and Leah did not believe that she had jumped off the cliff because she was sure that Gregory would catch her. It was just a threat and not a suicide attempt. They had already used Sandy's mouth to scold her once. Should they not complain to little shit again? If the whole world knew that she had attempted to commit suicide, Elvis and Leah nodded in agreement, indicating that they would not bring up this matter again. But no matter how much Gu Mingming planned, she forgot about Sandy. At the entrance of Sauter, little shit met Sandy's family, who was being carried by Colin to the forest to watch Bode lead Joseph and his brothers in actual combat training. Originally, Wabi did not have any feelings for Sandy. After all, he was a snake beast and was naturally cold-blooded. It was one thing for him to like Gu Mingming, but he would not like everyone related to her just because he liked her. But when Sandy saw Wabi, she took the initiative to greet him, and Wabi did not ignore her. He still had to give Gu Mingming some face. But this greeting was troublesome. Sandy told Wabi everything about Gu Mingming jumping off the cliff on Motor Mountains. As expected, Wabi was infuriated on the spot. He flew straight into Sauter and without a second word, he went up to the roof of the stone castle and directly attacked Gregory. Gregory had lived on Motor Mountains for many years, and was naturally sensitive to danger. So when Wabi charged in with a strong murderous intent, before Gregory could react, he had already spread his wings and flew high into the sky. But Wabi was after all 2 levels higher than him, so even though Gregory managed to avoid being hit in his vital organs, his ankle was still hooked by Wabi's venomous fangs. After flying for a short while, he fell straight down in front of Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming stared blankly at this scene, not knowing how to react. How should she put it? When little shit came in, she wanted to greet him, but before she could even smile and wave, Wabi had already bitten Gregory. Everything happened too quickly, and Gu Mingming was a little overwhelmed. Little shit. Gu Mingming did not manage to stop the first move in time, but she saw Wabi's eyes turning red, as if he would not stop until he had skinned Gregory alive. Gu Mingming could only stand in front of Gregory and hug him. Calm down, calm down. What's wrong with you? Did he offend you? Wabi's eyes narrowed into slits as he stared at Gu Mingming with a sinister expression. He said her name word by word, as if he was a messenger from hell demanding for her life. Gu Mingming. What? Gu Mingming looked at Wabi in shock. She had known him for almost 3 years, right? She had never seen him so angry before. Even though he could not defeat her, Gu Mingming still smiled timidly. Little shit. Why are you calling me by my full name like a gangster demanding a debt? What's wrong with you? Aside from the topic. Chapter 1409. You have guts. Wabi was infuriated and his entire body was emitting black smoke. He really wanted to kill Gregory, but Gu Mengmeng clearly wanted to protect him. He wanted to give Gu Mengmeng a good beating, but even though he knew he was no match for her, he couldn't do anything to her slender arms and legs. He spun around on the spot, and his gaze landed on Elvis. "Little wolf pup, come out and fight." Wasn't Elvis also suppressing a belly full of frustration? Being singled out, he chuckled. "I'll be happy to keep you company." With that, Elvis and Wabi left together. Gu Mengmeng face-bombed. The last time these two rascals were like this was when Wabi was scolding Elvis before they went to the Mecca Desert. Now they were doing it again. Although she was stunned when she saw Wabi attack Gregory, now that she thought about it again, how could she not understand? He probably knew about her jumping off the cliff on the Moda Mountains and couldn't bear to blame her, so he pushed all the blame to Gregory? Sigh, her momentary recklessness had caused someone else to pay the bill. Gu Mengmeng felt guilty. Let him take a look. Don't let little shit really poison him to death. Gu Mengmeng shook her head in exasperation. She wanted to help Gregory up, but hesitated and took a step back, handing Gregory over to Leah. Leah was pleased by Gu Mengmeng's action of avoiding suspicion. Although he had allowed Gregory to like Gu Mengmeng, it didn't mean he was willing for Gu Mengmeng's family to have another male. Moreover, one whose looks could threaten his and could fly, Leah helped Gregory up, but didn't bring him into the stone castle. Instead, he placed him at the edge of the outer wall and let him lie down. Then he checked his ankle. A large chunk of his flesh had been scraped off by Wabi's teeth, revealing his white bones. The surrounding flesh had turned black, and a blackness spread along his ankle like a spider web. Leah clicked his tongue. This Wabi must be really furious, right? This poison is too ruthless. Is there no hope? Gu Mengmeng was a little worried. It was not a big deal for a few males to die in the beast world, but Gu Mengmeng still felt uncomfortable that she had died so mysteriously. Leah was unwilling to let Gu Mengmeng take the blame for another person's death. Snake was already on her mind. He would not let another Gregory become the person in her nightmares. Hence he sighed and said, "Count himself lucky. I happen to have a medicine that can cure this poison." Gu Mengmeng's heart sank. With that, Leah returned to the house and brought out a small beast skin bag. Opening it, there were 2 pieces of snake scales inside. He scraped the snake scales with his fingernails and smeared the powder on Gregory's wound. After a short while, the black color that spread like a spider's web gradually faded away. Then, the black color on the wound gradually faded away as well. The poison was neutralized, but the rotten flesh could not be recovered. Leah could only use his fingernails to cut off the rotten flesh. He only stopped when fresh blood flowed out. Gu Mengmeng watched the entire process and felt a little guilty. She shook her head helplessly and said, "This little shit is too rash. He didn't say anything and just came up to hit me." Leah tilted his head and looked at Gu Mengmeng. After a long while he asked, "Your heart aches?" Chapter 14:10. He deserved to die because he was not as skilled. Leah stood up and changed his body, removing all the blood stains and stench from his body. He then returned to Gu Mengmeng's side and hugged her. Males do not need a reason to fight. This is the rule in the beast world. If he can't even protect himself, becoming food is his only fate. Gu Mengmeng shook her head. "I don't care if he dies outside. But little shit attacked him because of me. So I will not feel comfortable if he dies. I will not let him die. Don't worry," Leah promised. Gu Mengmeng nodded. She glanced at the beast skin bag in Lee's hands. "That snake scale, is Ellie's?" Leah nodded as a reply. Gu Mengmeng no longer felt any hatred towards Ellie. Her scales were just herbs to Gu Mengmeng, and she no longer felt disgusted. Pointing at Gregory, Gu Mengmeng asked, "That wound, won't he become disabled?" "He does not fly on his feet. It doesn't matter if he becomes disabled," Leah said nonchalantly. Gu Mengmeng frowned. Leah then corrected himself. "Don't worry. He was just scratched by Wabi's teeth. Males in the beast world are not so delicate. They will grow back in 2 or 3 days." Gu Mengmeng then relaxed and did not say anything else. Elvis and Wabi's fight lasted until the next afternoon. Gu Mingming was speechless when two people who looked like wounded soldiers who had just returned from Syria appeared in front of her. A beast king and a 5th-level warrior, who was just one step away from breaking through the bloodline barrier. Both of them were badly battered. If one did not know that they were fighting each other, they would have thought that the beast deity had manifested himself to be able to beat them up so badly. Gu Mingming supported Elvis, but her eyes were on Wabiai. "Have you calmed down? Calm down your ass." "Humph." Wabiai stiffened his neck and ignored Gu Mingming. He swam to the tree outside the stone castle and hung from the branch, pretending to be a flying poop. Gu Mingming sighed. "All right. If you are still angry, I will get Elvis to fight with you again after you two have rested." To little shit, there was nothing in this world that could not be solved with a fight. If there was, then he would fight twice. Actually, Gu Mingming herself could also fight with Wabiai. But it was obvious that Wabiai couldn't bring himself to fight her as his hands and feet were tied. Moreover, Elvis and Leah didn't like her to be rough, so she could only leave this matter to Elvis. After all, if Wabiai fought Leah, Leah would probably be beaten into his original form by now. Wabiai didn't say a word. He just closed his eyes and pretended to be asleep, refusing to acknowledge Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming had no choice but to help Elvis back into the house. As she cleaned his wounds, she asked, "You are a beast king. How did you get injured by Wabiai to this extent?" Elvis chuckled. "We're just venting our emotions. We're not really going to take his life. We can't possibly use our beast pressure to kill him, right? Besides, if I didn't let him hit me twice, would he be able to swallow his anger?" Gu Mingming frowned as she carefully cleaned Elvis's wounds, muttering, "All of you are so hot-tempered." Chapter 14:11. How can I ignore it? What if it gets inflamed? Gu Mingming grumbled as she carefully cleaned Elvis's wound. What she didn't know was that Gregory, who was lying outside the door, had already woken up. Due to the complications of being poisoned, his entire body was weak and he had lost a piece of flesh on his leg. It wasn't fatal, but it was still quite painful. Unfortunately, he didn't receive a caring look from Gu Mingming. Hearing her asking about Elvis's well-being, Gregory's mind kept replaying Cole's words. You can become her partner and brand the mark on her heart, replacing Elvis as the first partner. How blissful would it be if she was in his arms now, blaming him for not protecting himself properly when he was injured? Elvis and Lee's injuries were not that serious. Although they looked frightening, they did not kill each other. So before evening, their injuries had already healed, and they looked like nothing had happened to them. On the other hand, although Gregory only had one injury and it didn't look obvious, he was still a 3rd-level beast and his recovery speed was far slower than the 5th-level Wabiai, much less the Beast King Elvis. But because Gregory was injured, Gu Mingming felt apologetic, so she asked Leah to prepare a portion for Gregory when preparing dinner. Gu Mingming's family of 3 consisted of the regular member who shared meals with them, Oriton, the still angry and cold Wabiai, and the injured Gregory. Gu Mingming sat at the table and used her chopsticks to poke at the meat in her bowl. Looking at the unhappy Wabiai, she thought for a moment and coaxed him. "A little shit, do you want to be the Beast King? I can help you snatch the soul of the forest from Cole. Then you will be the rightful Snake King and replace Snake at the pinnacle of snake life. Just thinking about it makes me happy, right?" Wabiai rolled his eyes coldly and snorted without saying another word. Plan 1 to please Wabiai failed. She scooped a large bowl of meat and brought it to Wabiai's mouth. Lee's culinary skills have improved quite a bit recently. Try it. He added an unknown fruit into this meat. It's very delicious. Wabiai nodded. Wabiai nodded. Wabiai turned his head to show Gu Mingming the back of his head. Plan 2 to please Wabiai failed. Gu Mingming sighed and said, "Forcing me to use my ultimate move, huh?" Wabiai looked nonchalantly at Gu Mingming and sneered, completely unfazed by her threat. Gu Mingming nodded and smiled sneakily. "I'm going to sleep." Wabiai was stunned for half a second before he understood what sleep meant. His pupils returned to normal in an instant, and he looked at Gu Mingming with a sparkling gaze. Gu Mingming laughed and said, "Then go and tell my father that the time I helped you ask questions in the past doesn't count anymore." I will never send you to see him for the rest of your life. Humph. Wabiai coughed and grabbed Gu Mingming's arm. Gu Tumeng, you can't treat me like this. Successfully coercing Wabiai's plan 1. Gu Mingming imitated Wabiai's indifferent attitude just now. She harumphed coldly and stiffened her neck, not saying another word. Little shit was a classic example of refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Thinking of wine, Gu Mingming turned her head back and glared at Wabiai. You drank all my wine before winter arrived. Wabiai was stunned. Chapter 14:12. Who are you calling stingy? Gu Mingming placed her hands on her hips, looking like a teapot. Wabiai had a favor to ask of her, so he naturally lowered his arrogance. I am stingy, all right. That's more like it. Gu Mingming twitched her lips and let him off. Wabiai hooked his arm around Gu Mingming's neck and said in a brotherly manner, but to be honest, don't forget that matter. I'm counting on you. Gu Mingming pushed Wabiai's arm away with a look of disdain. You still know you're counting on me? Then you still dare to give me that attitude? Wasn't I so angry that I became muddle-headed? Moreover, even if I was that angry, I still couldn't bear to lay a finger on you, right? You are my ancestor, my biological ancestor, all right? Wabiai nudged Gu Mingming with his shoulder, trying to please her. In her memory, Wabiai had never shown such an expression when Snake was alive. It seemed like he was getting more and more mischievous after spending so much time with Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming nodded. All right, I got it. Keep that disgusting face of yours. After all, you are Snake's father now. Can't you have some face? Wabiai chuckled. Sigh, you don't say. Being Snake's father really feels great. I don't need to do anything. Just thinking about it makes me feel like I can ascend to the heavens. Yes, you should stand shoulder to shoulder with the sun. Gu Mingming rolled her eyes at Wabiai. Wabiai laughed dryly. Then he pointed at Elvis. Little wolf, why are you still standing there? Hurry up and help your female to sleep. Damn it. Gu Mingming slapped the back of Wabiai's head. Don't you have any respect for your old age? Help your female to sleep. He actually shouted such shameful words. Why was he so afraid that others couldn't hear him? How easy would it be to cause a misunderstanding? Yes, Elvis had to sleep with her because he was worried that she would meet the beast deity alone. He was afraid that the beast deity would scold her, and that she would directly fall into Snake's arms in her dreams. But when the two of them went to see the beast deity, they were really just sleeping. Just like kindergartners taking an afternoon nap. They just held hands and lay on the bed with their eyes closed. Damn it. Why do I feel like I'm making things worse? Wabiai was bewildered by Gu Mingming's patting, but he seemed to have gotten used to it. All he wanted now was for Gu Mingming to go to sleep, so that she could tell him how Snake was doing when she woke up. And when would he be able to see him? So Wabiai didn't mind her touching him and spouting nonsense. He just gave a perfunctory reply. Yes, I am a disrespectful old man. My entire tribe is disrespectful old man. Gu Mingming was so amused by Wabiai that she lost her temper. She allowed him to push and shove her into Elvis's arms, not even allowing him to wipe his mouth before pushing him into the stone castle to sleep. Leah also put down the bowl and chopsticks in his hands and said to Oratin, You can have the rest. Wash the bowls after you finish eating. Oratin lowered his head gloomily. Gu Mingming went to sleep again. That meant that Leah wouldn't be cooking for the next 4 to 5 days. Gregory, who had been left out in the cold and almost forgotten, watched the scene unfold before him with envy. Chapter 14:13. Once she obtained the love of the sky and bought 5 females to send to the Mota Mountains to repay his favor, he would have to leave her, right? Looking at Oratin, who was eating his meal in a melancholy manner, Gregory felt that he was very annoying for some reason. Without saying a word, he flew off. Back in the room, Wabiai entered the stone castle as though he was in his own home. In a place like the beast world where power was the most important, someone with Wabiai's insane level of power had no concept of territory. After all, The only person stronger than him in the past 800 years was Snake, and Snake was the Snake King. Even Wabi himself belonged to Snake, so there was naturally no need to talk about territory between them. After that, Gu Mengmeng became the Beast King, but because of Gu Mengmeng and Wabi were very close, so there was no need to talk about territory. After that, Elvis became the Beast King, but because of Gu Mengmeng, Elvis was used to Wabi coming and going as he pleased, so there was no need to talk about territory. But now, besides Gu Mengmeng and Elvis, there was another Beast King in Solder. So before Gu Mengmeng slept, she couldn't help but worry. She held Wabi's hand and instructed, "That pervert Cole is now the Beast King. Don't provoke him when Elvis and I are asleep. You can't beat him now, understand?" Wabi replied perfunctorily, I know. Gu Mengmeng knew that he wasn't being serious. She slapped him and said, "I am being serious with you, be more attentive." Wabi scared and said, "How many times have I told you? I am not afraid of the Beast King. Moreover, all males in the beast world love to fight. Aren't you making me want to challenge him even more by telling me this?" Gu Mengmeng pointed at Wabi's nose and said, "I am warning you, if you dare to provoke Cole while I am asleep, I will kill you when I return." Wabi said, All right, I know. I can't beat him, so I won't provoke him. Even if he comes to provoke me, I won't care about him. When you wake up, I'll call you and your little wolf cub. Let's go and kill him, okay?" Gu Mengmeng then nodded her head in satisfaction. Wabi pushed Gu Mengmeng down impatiently before stuffing her into Elvis's arms. Then he used a beast's skin to cover the both of them. His actions were so rough that he had no tender feelings for the fairer sex. "Stop talking nonsense and go to sleep. Now." Leah sat by the bed and pulled down the beast's skin, revealing Gu Mengmeng's little face. He smiled helplessly and said, "All right, go to sleep. I'll watch over you." Gu Mengmeng nodded, then slowly closed her eyes. Seeing that Gu Mengmeng's breathing had evened out, Leah turned to look at Wabi. "While Xiao Ming is asleep, help me with something." "What?" Wabi asked. Leah smiled. "Fight with me. I want to level up." Wabi chuckled and said, "Oh, intermittently working hard to improve. Haven't you always been walking the path of eating and waiting for death?" Leah didn't mind Wabi's teasing and just smiled. "Cole is doing something that Mengmeng doesn't like. I promised Mengmeng that I would stop him. So I need to level up to the 5th level first, then activate the Beast King bloodline, and become the legitimate Fox King. I will take drastic measures against Cole." Chapter 14:14. On the other side, Gu Mengmeng was gradually ascending along with the white fog. Having experienced it the first time, Elvis was no longer as flustered. He just protected Gu Mengmeng tightly, hugging her in his arms out of habit. The beast deity stood on the platform and waved at the two of them. He then pulled Gu Mengmeng out of Elvis's arms with a grin and hugged her. "Even if you two have become partners, you can't hug my daughter in front of me. Don't you have any shame?" Elvis lowered his head. Father-in-law is right. Although he said so, he did not think so in his heart. Without Gu Mengmeng in his arms, he felt something was missing. It was as if he was only complete when he hugged her. Gu Mengmeng held onto the beast deity's arm with a grin. "Father, I haven't come back to see you for a long time. Did you miss me?" "Of course." The beast deity pinched Gu Mengmeng's little nose dotingly. "Didn't you only go to retrieve the love of the sky during the drought season? Why did you come back so early?" Fine, this mischievous brat who only knew to return home when he lacked money was already deeply rooted in his heart. Gu Mengmeng accepted it. Anyway, it was already like this. She laughed awkwardly. "Didn't I get into trouble at Mota Mountains and angered little shit?" The beast deity chuckled. He poked Gu Mengmeng's head. "You're a coward." Gu Mengmeng did not retort. She held onto the beast deity's arm and sat on the long bench. She was afraid that the beast deity would suddenly think of some crafty way to scold Elvis. She said anxiously, "Father, hurry up and start. I will accompany you to watch television." "All right." The beast deity turned back to glance at Elvis. His gaze was saying, "My daughter is so popular. You scum, you had better be tensed up. If you don't treat my daughter better, I will replace you anytime. Gu Mingming did not notice the look the beast deity was giving Elvis. She just smiled and urged the beast deity to start watching television. The beast deity waved his hand. The screen that resembled a home theater appeared before their eyes. The location was the female toilet of S University. The scene was the previous time when Snake hugged Gu Mingming, who was secretly crying in the toilet, and questioned the girls who were talking about her behind her back. The girls slid away from Snake while sticking to the wall. Snake really minded that his hands would touch any other females other than Gu Mingming. Otherwise he would have crushed them to death on the spot. Talking behind his Tuming's back? You probably don't even want your tongue anymore. Snake's face was extremely gloomy. Today was really not a good day to come to school. Tuming had just been made to cry by that jerk, and now she had to hear those girls ridiculing her behind her back. I can't stand it. I can't stand it anymore. How could his precious treasure be trampled upon like this? Snakel whipped out his cell phone and sent a message to the principal, asking him to retrieve the surveillance footage from the corridor outside the female toilet and take screenshots of the faces of the 3 girls who had just walked out. He would then send them along with their admission information to his secretary. The headmaster did not dare to be negligent, so he did as he was told. But Snake was not in the mood for class anymore. He pulled Gu Mingming's hand and said, "Let's go home." But we still have lessons in the afternoon. Gu Mingming was worried about her school credits. Her results were already not good. If she were to miss school, how could she graduate? Chapter 14-15. Gu Mingming hesitated for a moment, then pulled Snake and asked, "Can I not go back today?" Snake looked at Gu Mingming and asked gently, "If you don't go home, where do you want to go?" Gu Mingming lowered her head and said, "I want to go back to the hostel for a night." "No." Snake frowned and said, "It's not convenient for me to stay in the female hostel." Gu Mingming was stunned for 2 seconds. Then she shook her head and said, "What I mean is, I want to go back to my previous hostel and squeeze in with Bailan for a night." Snake's face darkened and he pinched Gu Mingming's chin. Looking at her red and swollen eyes, he said unhappily, "You mean you want to abandon me and sleep with someone else? Why did that sound so weird? Bailan is a girl." Gu Mingming mumbled softly. Snake's face was still cold as he narrowed his eyes and said, "So a girl can hug my woman as she pleases?" Gu Mingming choked. Her relationship with Bailan was very good, but they were innocent, all right? Why did those words sound so different when they came out of Snake's mouth? I just feel bad today and want to talk to Bailan about it." Snake pulled Gu Mingming back into his arms and said, "You have something on your mind but don't want to tell me, but to tell someone else? Gu Mingming, whose girlfriend are you?" Gu Mingming's face heated up from Snake's question. She lowered her head and said softly, "Not everything on one's mind is suitable to be discussed with one's boyfriend." Snake lifted Gu Mingming's chin and forced her to look up at him and asked, "Why?" Gu Mingming pursed her lips and answered, "A girl's mind is very complicated and delicate. Guys will find it pretentious and impatient when they hear it. I don't want you to think that I am too clingy and troublesome, so." Snake was not too satisfied with Gu Mingming's explanation, but it was better than using the excuse of Bailan is more important than him, so he reluctantly accepted it. Kissing Gu Mingming's little mouth, Snake then said, "Tuming, stop provoking my jealousy, all right?" Gu Mingming looked at Snake in confusion, not understanding what he meant. Jealousy? Such a thing did not exist. Gu Mingming felt that she did not have good relationships with the opposite sex. In her past life, she was so busy trying to survive that she did not have time to think about other things. The only time she had anything to do with it was when she had given Zhang Jincheng a love letter, but it was intercepted by Snake halfway. After dating Snake, she became even more unapproachable to strangers. There was no existence around her that could make a boyfriend jealous. Snakel could tell that Gu Mingming was confused and just smiled. He looked into her eyes and said affectionately, "Before I appeared by your side, I was jealous of everyone who passed by you, because they could easily see the you that I dreamed of." Now that I can finally be with you, you still want to tell others about your troubles. Tu Meng, if someone else is more important than me in your heart, I will go crazy. I will go crazy from jealousy. Actually, I hope that there is no one else in your heart except for me. But Snake did not say this out loud, because he knew where Gu Mingming's limits were. If he pushed her too hard, she would only be scared away. He wanted to protect her for the rest of her life, but not to imprison her. Gu Mingming was flustered by Snake's words. She lowered her head and said, I was just afraid that you would find me annoying. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.